the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth. I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The time, 6 o'clock on the dot. A very good morning to you. A very good morning to Pip Thompson. Eamonn and Pip here for all this week.
Here's what is leading the news this morning.
The Prime Minister has little to celebrate as the year draws to a close. We look at how his 5 promises are shaping up, with more issues for the Rwanda plan, as it's claimed that airlines are now refusing to provide planes for the scheme.
Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 90 people in the Jablia refugee camp. That's according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. Foreign Secretary David Cameron is calling for a sustainable ceasefire.
And concerns are growing about alcoholism during the festive season, so we ask just how much is too much?
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
And later on, we will be debating whether Piers Morgan should apologise to Prince Harry after a judge ruled that the Duke's phone was hacked by Morgan's newspaper at the time, The Mirror.
Paul Coyte's here with your sport.
I am. Good morning. Arsenal go back to the top of the Premier League. Nice point for Manchester United at Anfield and how they celebrate Christmas in German football. It's very nice.
In German football?
Oh, yeah, it's very nice.
Is it different than how they celebrate Christmas?
Well, put it this way, they all sing together, and it's nice.
Oh.
You wouldn't get that here.
Nothing like a sing-song.
Well, sings the songs and Christmas and Last Christmas by Vam. They do all that stuff. It's great.
All right, Paul.
All right, sorry.
Leave it there.
Did I get carried away? Sorry.
Okay. Let's see if Jonathan Vaughtry's going to get carried away with the weather picture.
An unsettled week of weather on the way for us, and it will also be turning that bit cooler. Join me later for the full forecast to find out the details.
We want you to get involved in the programme today, and later on we're going to be telling you, you and I know, come Christmas, a lot of people indulge their pets. They buy costumes for the pets. We got a present last week. Someone bought us something for our dog, but it had the tag on it. What do you call it? The theft tag, the anti-theft tag still on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Did it go off?
No, well, we'll have to send it back to get the tag taken off. But anyway, we have got other things, and I was the man that would say people who dress up their pets at Christmas, I mean, they're missing something. But you're only missing something by not doing it.
Oh, hats, scarves, cravats. My dogs have got the lot.
Got the lot. And we'll give you an insight. We'll be showing you pictures of our doggies later on. But the thing is, we want to see pictures of your doggies and cats and rabbits and mice and whatever else you're dressing up.
Mice?
For Christmas. Well...
I'll be surprised, but if you do have a mouse in a little scarf, send it in.
I saw a mouse where under the stairs. Under the stairs.
Oh, blimey.
Right there, do you know this?
It's only 6:03. How long is this show?
Clogs on. Do you know this song?
I do. I've not heard it for a very long time.
Clippity clop on the stairs. See you after this.
To our top story this morning then, and the 5 priorities set by the Prime Minister in January look set to fail as we approach the end of the year.
Let's take a look at them. 4, definitely in a mess. The economy is shrinking and the NHS wait times have hardly moved. But one promise is getting there, but what it's got to do with the Prime Minister, we're not sure. Inflation is falling.
However, the Prime Minister's pledge to stop the boats by sending asylum seekers to Rwanda is, as we all know, facing yet more difficulties and tearing the Conservative Party apart.
There are now reports certain airlines are refusing contracts to provide planes to send people to Rwanda in fear of reputational damage.
Well, joining us now is political commentator Andy Williams. Good morning to you, Andy.
Morning.
He has got a lot on his plate. He's not going to have much of a break, Rishi Sunak, this Christmas, is he? And you wonder, this whole Rwanda scheme, which Labour, we know, says is a gimmick, it's never going to get off the ground, is it? Especially as commercial airlines are reportedly saying this now.
It's a complete gimmick. It's not going to work. It's extremely expensive. They're talking about a maximum of 200 people a year being deported to Rwanda, even if it does become law. So putting to one side the sort of moral dimension of this, it's not practical, it's not workable, it's extremely expensive, and I think it's emblematic of a government that's completely failing on almost every level.
So no planes to Rwanda then. Well, if it's 200 people a year, they could just hire a bus basically and bring them, couldn't they? Does it really matter?
Well, we're talking about £169,000 per person. That would be the cost of every single person if this does get off the ground. I think we've had 3 people in total deported to Rwanda so far. As I say, it's not workable at all. And we talked about the 5 pledges here, only one of which has been achieved. You said, Eamonn, that's the one, the inflation pledge, that he had the least control over. I mean, that's not really in the gift of the Prime Minister to halve inflation. The other 4, stop the boats, not happening. None of these pledges are being met, and I think next year is, as you say, he's not going to have a very happy Christmas because he is in big, big trouble going into the new year.
And when
There's nobody to blame but himself, has he? I mean, he set the targets, he set the standards.
Well, that's the problem, is if you do, and he said, judge me by these 5 pledges that I'm making. I think he said no excuses. Well, here we are. I mean, if your political strategy is, and this is the government's political strategy, that you're delivering, you're competent, judge me by my actions and by how we're delivering, well, it's not happening.
And so much time, focus, money and attention is being spent on this Rwanda plan, and yet there's no convincing evidence, is there yet, that that is the top priority for the electorate when it comes to which way they will vote?
No, absolutely. And Rishi Sunak and the government keep saying this is the public's top priority. Well, you can say it as much as you like, but actually the evidence suggests that that is not the public's top priority. As always, people's top priority is how much money do I have in my pocket? You know, cost of living crisis. People are really, really struggling. Lots of people are really, really struggling.
Although some people would say, you know, the NHS, we know that it's in a pickle. The waiting lists are so high. Some people would claim illegal migration has an impact on that or exacerbates it.
Well, I think, look, certainly population growth has an impact on public services. Now, my response to that would be you have to invest in public services, you have to invest in infrastructure. That is how you build an economy and a society that works. Actually, illegal migration is a very small proportion overall of population growth. Net migration is very, very high, but most of that is legal migration. So if you do have a problem with legal migration, there are other ways to fix it.
Silence. Yeah.
Well, you just think, well, where are the positives here for the government at the moment? Can we find any positives? We've already looked at inflation, which I think appears to be very much out of the Prime Minister's control, although he likes to claim the credit for it. Is there any other positives in all this?
Honestly, I think it's a really, really sticky situation. I mean, the government strategy at the moment is hope and wait until something falls out of the sky that saves them from what looks like a really, really, really bad election defeat. I'm really struggling to see the positives for them because they're 23 points behind in the polls. The economy is stagnant. On their own terms, net migration is very, very high. You know, living standards are low. Public services aren't doing brilliantly. I expect in the next few days we're going to have people stuck on trains and airports where things aren't working. So, no, I can't really find too many positives, I'm afraid.
I'll tell you what, we'll give you for 50 minutes or so to find something positive when you come back again.
I'll come back to you with a positive.
And in the meantime, viewers and listeners, we would like you to get involved in this and help Andy out, where the glimmers of hope are, where the chinks of light are, Andy. gbviews@gbnews.com. Or are we all, as they would say in Dad's Army, doomed? Are we doomed? gbviews@gbnews.com. Let us know. Andy, for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
3 Israeli hostages who were mistakenly killed by soldiers in Gaza on Friday used leftover food to write signs pleading for help.
Foreign Secretary David Cameron is warning that too many civilians have been killed in Gaza and has expressed public support for a sustainable ceasefire.
Meanwhile, the Americans are pushing Israel to move towards small-scale raids. But does the war still have support amongst Israelis? We're joined now by reporter Joakim Karud from Tel Aviv. Joakim, good morning to you. The situation and international support all seem to be changing, my friend.
Absolutely, but I think there's a huge difference between what David Cameron is saying and what the United Security Council now is drafting. They're drafting another proposal for resolution. Now, David Cameron is saying ceasefire, but Hamas has to lay down its arms. All hostages have to be released. Now, that's something that Israel could absolutely back within a second. What the United Nations Security Council is proposing is not that. It's an immediate ceasefire, but no condemnation of Hamas, no demand for Hamas to lay down its arms, but mainly just for humanitarian aid to enter Gaza and for the hostages to be released. But that's not something Israel can accept. It won't allow Hamas to stay in power in Gaza.
Just let's make it clear, Joakim. Benjamin Netanyahu, where does he stand on everything? What is his stance?
Well, his first of all, political survival. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. But secondly, of course, he wants the removal of Hamas. He wants the release of all hostages. And then he says the day after Hamas, Gaza cannot turn into a Hamasistan or a Fatahstan. In other words, he will not allow Hamas or the Palestinian Authority to rule Gaza. Now, that's quite interesting because if you look at a recent poll from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, he's not that far from what the Israelis are actually saying. A majority don't want Israel to annex or occupy Gaza. Only a third would like that. 22% would like moderate Arab regimes to control Gaza. Another 22% would like for international institutions. Very few people, I think only 13%, if I'm not mistaken, would like the Palestinian Authority to rule. And why am I mentioning this? It's because the entire world is calling for the Palestinian Authority to take over Gaza. Israel is not interested in that. The government is not interested in that. The Palestinians are also not interested in that. A recent poll showed that most people would like the president to resign, President Abbas. In fact, most people would like Hamas to continue ruling. So there's a huge discrepancy between what the world wants, what Israel wants, and what the Palestinians want.
Jotam, we now have these reports that Israeli airstrikes killed at least 90 people at the Jabalia refugee camp. And we now understand, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, let's make that clear, but it's getting on for 20,000 civilians in Gaza now dead. And yet Israel says that it is trying to contain the number of civilian casualties. But it really can't be, can it, when the death toll is this high?
It can't. It's also important to mention 20,000 Palestinians. We don't know how many Hamas terrorists have been killed. Hamas is not saying that. Israel is saying between 5,000 to 7,000. It still leaves a huge amount of civilian casualties. There's no doubt about it. And what Israel is doing is very aggressive. And obviously it could do other things to avoid civilian casualties simply by not bombarding so much. But at the end of the day, Hamas is hiding everywhere in the Gaza Strip, underground, above ground, in schools, hospitals, mosques. It is impossible to only hit Hamas. No army in the world could do that. That doesn't mean that you can't criticize Israel for what it's doing. But if you expect Israel to be able to conduct a military operation inside Gaza that is only targeting Hamas, that's delusional. It's simply not possible.
This massive tunnel network has been discovered, hasn't it, by the Israeli army, the biggest Hamas tunnel so far.
The Israeli army dug a lot of it, actually.
Yeah, I think we do have pictures of that, which we can show our viewers. It's only 400 metres from the border crossing between northern Gaza and Israel. How much of a breakthrough is it, finding this tunnel?
It's a huge...
Because it's some 300 miles, isn't it, this tunnel network?
We don't have the exact length of it, but we do know how deep it is. It's 50 meter deep. It is 400 meter from the Erez border crossing, which means it's very, very close to Israel. And as you can see in the pictures now, it is massive. It's like a metro. I would say it's, the metro that was built in Tel Aviv in Israel took 20 years. Hamas built something that's nearly as impressive in less than that, and they have far less capacity to build stuff. So I think people are shocked, really, how vast these tunnels are. You can drive a car in them. It is absolutely enormous, and it's obviously a huge undertaking, but it goes to show exactly where Hamas is spending its money. It's spending its money building these facilities, preparing for a war where it can allow itself to conduct a war and not be eradicated by Israeli military because they're so deep underground.
OK. Jotam, we've got to leave it there. Jotam Confino, there from Tel Aviv live, and hopefully we'll speak again later in the programme. Thank you. The time is now 6:15. This is Breakfast with Eamonn and Pip. A reminder of our top stories. The Prime Minister has little to celebrate as the year draws to a close. We look at how his 5 promises are shaping up, with more issues for the Rwanda plan, as it's claimed that airlines are now refusing to provide planes.
Other stories coming into the newsroom. Former Tory peer Michelle Mone has admitted she lied over her involvement in PPE deals worth millions during the pandemic. Mone said she was not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes and had not told the truth about her involvement to protect her family from press attention.
The owners of a remote French guest house where teenager Alex Batty lived for a number of years have said the young man is eager to get back to normal life. after reuniting with his grandmother over the weekend.
A collision with one of President Joe Biden's security detail motorcade in Delaware on Sunday has shaken the White House. The incident occurred after the president and his wife had just left his campaign headquarters.
Yeah, imagine being in that situation, having a shunt. Can I have your details? Can we swap details here? I'm the President of the United States. Goodness me. It's officially a week until the big day. This time next week, it is Christmas Day.
Now, who's ready for it? Because I'm certainly not. Still got so much to do. Last-minute shopping, there's social gatherings to get through, and all sorts of wrapping to get done. I did start mine yesterday.
You're wrapping presents. Oh, that's such a waste of time.
Why did you say that, Scrooge?
No, I'm not Scrooge. I'm not Scrooge, but I just think environmentally to wrap things up and rip it all off again, and it's just a waste of time, really.
It really, I mean, my mum, she's lovely about it, though. She always likes to gently unwrap the present to recycle the paper.
Folds her paper,
and I just say, rip it off, Mum.
Oh, terrible. But we started our sociabilities at the weekend, and I feel for poor Philippa, who had to sit beside me at a party because I just kept saying to her, there was music playing, there were lots of people around, and she's quite quietly spoken, and so she would just say to me all the time, and I'd say, sorry, what? And she would say, and I just felt for you. I felt for you being stuck beside me.
I was thinking to myself, blimey, this is going to bode well for Monday morning, isn't it?
What?
Eamonn?
What did you say, what? But it is difficult if you're at a certain age and all the sound just molds into one, and there's music playing and whatever. It was all very nice, very, very nice, but it's just, I just felt for her.
Just couldn't hear a damn word anybody said.
Yeah. So the question in many people's minds is whether it's going to be a white Christmas or not, and if not, what sort of Christmas weather can you expect?
Well, let's talk to one person who might have the answer. Meteorologist Tamsin Green, good morning. A week to go then.
Hi, good morning.
Do you have some idea of where snow might fall?
If at all.
I do. I feel like I'm quite a secret holder here, quite a secret keeper with this kind of news. But yeah, the good news is, I mean, this week we'll continue to see above average temperatures, but through the weekend, temperatures will be dropping and it will be turning colder with northwesterly winds driving in wintry showers. So a technical white Christmas is on the cards. Most likely for northwest Scotland, it's not good news for all of us. Elsewhere, it looks like we'll be seeing mainly dry conditions with high pressure building in from the south, but at least that means we can get out and have some nice winter walks. But at the moment, it looks like it's mainly limited to northwest Scotland.
Tamsin, just remind us exactly what constitutes a white Christmas. Does it only need one snowflake to fall?
Yeah, so the chances of seeing a technical white Christmas are actually pretty high. So we define a white Christmas pretty loosely here in the UK as only one snowflake needs to be observed.
And where has that snowflake to fall?
Yeah, but no, a total of 0 because there was absolutely none on the ground.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, so I think you've frozen there. We just, in terms of...
frozen in the snow.
Frozen in the snow. So we'll leave that there. We'll get an update with Jonathan Vautry, though. Jonathan.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. The rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it will be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Jonathan, thank you, top man. Now, a question for you all. As we are 1 week away from the big day, how would you like to win 10 grand in cash and a few other things besides?
You could be the winner of our very first Great British Giveaway. That would make you Christmas, wouldn't it? Here's all the details of how you could win those prizes.
It's the Great British Giveaway, your chance to grab some amazing prizes and start your new year the right way. You could win an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Imagine having all of that extra cash in your bank account. We'll also bring you bang up to date with the very latest iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we'll give you £500 worth of shopping vouchers to spend in the store of your choice. For another chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
Vouchers are an amazing thing. I remember, I don't like being bought vouchers. You know, people buy vouchers for Christmas. I am the sort of person that gets vouchers and then never spends them.
And then they expire.
They do expire. You're absolutely right. But I remember when I was 19 and I worked for Ulster Television, and you got £100 worth of grocery vouchers, and that was 1980, as a Christmas box. People don't do these things anymore. Honestly, Pip, it was impossible to spend £100. It really was.
What would that have got you back then? £100?
Everything. A lot of cornflakes, a lot of biscuits, lots of things. But it was fascinating. You know, it's a treasure trove, and that's what we're offering. We're offering, you know, all those vouchers there as part of that magnificent prize. And if you enter and you win, you pick it up in January, which is a very good time to do all of that.
Good luck if you're entering. Now, coming up next, Paul Coit is here with the latest sports news. It was a pretty big day, wasn't it, yesterday in the football, Eamonn?
It was fine. I'm happy with the point. All good. Paul will tell you why after this.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're just sitting debating here, Paul Coit, now about Dallo for Man United yesterday against Liverpool being sent off. I thought he deserved it. It was a bit confusing, you know, to see he got 2 yellow cards for the one incident.
For dissent.
Yeah.
So you get 2 yellow cards for dissent. So the thing is that, so the ball goes off. So it was obviously 0-0, this guy say, obviously Liverpool 0, Manchester United 0. So the ball goes off, and Diogo Dallo, it should have been his throw. So he turns to the referee, Michael Oliver, and protests and has a go. So he gets his yellow card and then continues and then gets a second yellow card. Now, the thing is, I don't know where the gap is for the second yellow card. Is it because he did one sentence and had a right go and then started again? Because you would kind of think that the yellow card would be for one rant. Or do you get 2 yellow cards for different reasons, for different rants? Do you see what I mean? Do you see what happened, Pip? Does that make sense to you? So he gets the yellow card thrown.
Pushed it too far.
Then just kept going. Yeah. And then he got another yellow card and then gets sent off. So pretty much the same offence, but he just didn't shut up.
That seems a bit harsh.
Yeah, do you not think it's a bit harsh? I think it was a bit harsh. Yellow card certainly deserved, but 2 of them for the same offence, I think a little harsh.
OK. The match itself, a lot of people have been having their say about this. I mean, there's no doubt about it that, you know, United coming away with 1 point is a victory for them.
It is. It's a good result because we were all a little worried that maybe Liverpool would trail. I mean, it was 7-0 last year. They had 34 shots on goal, Liverpool, 69% possession. Jurgen Klopp, I know it was Virgil van Dijk that was saying that, you know, Manchester United, we were the only ones that wanted to win. We were there. But you know what? So what? There's more than one way to skin a cat. If you want to go over there and get a result, it's a good result for Manchester United, a good result for anybody if you go to Anfield and get a draw.
Yeah. Looking at the top of the table now, it's Arsenal.
Yes.
And I'm very pleased to see Villa are there in 3rd. Up the Villa!
I wonder when you were going to mention the Villa. I wonder when it was going to come.
I see this morning, I really am.
They are looking very good. They
very
won.
Impressed with Villa.
They really are. And Brentford, they were 1-0 down to Brentford and then came through with a win. It was an interesting thing. Did you see the thing that happened with Ollie Watkins yesterday? This is after the goal. So he scores the winner, 85th minute, and he's getting berated because he used to play at Brentford non-stop. There's a guy behind the goal that's just giving him shit, and you see it all the time and you think, oh, will you give it a rest? Because he was great at Brentford. So anyway, he scores the winning goal and then goes straight up and starts giving it all this to this fan, whereas a lot of Brentford fans, you know, oh, this is disrespectful because, you know, he played for us and it's terrible that he did that. So what he actually said, he said, I love the club, I love the players and the staff, I've got no bad word to say against them, but there was one person that was abusing me all game and the celebration wasn't to anyone else, but it was directed at him, and I feel as if I've done so much for the club and they've done so much for me. So he's trying to show his respect for Brentford, but when someone just gets on your back the whole time. So it just shows that if you're a fan of an opposing side and you give an opposing player just stick all the time, sometimes they're just going to go, there you go. Okay. So it probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the other guy.
You have a killer dog.
Well, Dudley, he's a lovely dog, but he does get a little, you know, upset from time to time.
Does he get a Christmas present? Does he get a Christmas costume or anything like that?
Don't do the costume, no.
He gets upset because you put him in a Santa outfit.
Now, that's a lie, Pip. I will not have that. You know what? If I ended up with like a Christmas hat anywhere near Dudley, you know, there's no chance I'd get anything on him.
Well, Dudley's doesn't get a Christmas costume, but our doggies get them. And
Really?
Here's my Maggie. First of all, she's got a number. This is her in a robe, a sort of royal Christmas.
Oh, no, that's mine. That's my little Robin.
Oh,
sorry, Eamonn.
Look.
Honest to God, honestly, I'm so fed up. I don't know why we submit photographs, because no one ever seems to have them. But anyway, that is your dog, which looks lovely. Tell me about your dog.
So that's my little Robin, who was rescued from the dog meat trade in South Korea 5 years ago.
Oh.
And every year since, we do the annual photo, and I think he probably wishes he was back on the dog meat farm.
I was going to say, I mean, he's gone from that to this. Quite frankly,
you know when you have pigs in blankets, you could have been a dog in blanket now. Who's this?
Who's this?
Who's this?
Richard, our producer.
Bridget.
I thought the dog was called Richard. You don't get many dogs called Richard these days.
And she's in a little. Is it a bow? A festive bow. She doesn't look deliriously happy, does she, about that? But she
looks like a cushion.
Yeah,
it's like Humphrey Cushion from Hickory House.
But very nice. We get the idea, Bridget. That's
Lovely.
really nice. That's really
lovely.
very, very good. So basically, what we're saying is, you know, if you're home and you're watching this, share your doggy or your pussy or your rabbit or your mouse or your rat or whatever you keep as a pet.
Snake.
Yeah, whatever. What way do you do them up for Christmas? Let us know. Christmas, this is Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund Football Club, and this is their... this is how they celebrate.
They do this every year. It's called the Weihnachtslieder, and then 75,000 Dortmund fans all meet up to Duna Park, and they just sing and they have a lovely time. They have two halves, 45-minute halves, so it's nothing to do with football. Although they're all football fans, so they're all at the ground, and everybody sings Christmas songs, which I'm hoping we possibly will have. But it's a very lovely thing, and everybody has a lovely time. Would it happen here?
That's a big thing.
Would they do it here, do you think, for a football club?
It's a very simple thing to do, isn't it? Why hasn't it been done?
I don't know. It's because we're all so miserable. I think it's great. You know, it'd be great to have Christmas songs at the football ground, and everybody wears all the colours and they all sing and have a lovely time. But Dortmund are nice, though. Dortmund are a lovely... Dortmund fans are fantastic. If you ever run into a Dortmund fan, I've never met a nasty Dortmund fan.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Well, look, we'll develop this Christmas theme as the programme progresses this morning, and it's only a week until the big day, of course. The time is now 6:33. We say goodbye to Mr. Paul. Say hello, Eamonn and Pip. We're here for the rest of the day, and here's a reminder of the top stories.
The Prime Minister has not a lot to celebrate as the year draws to a close. We'll be looking at how his 5 promises are shaping up, with more issues for the Rwanda plan, as it's claimed that airlines are refusing to provide planes for the scheme.
Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 90 people in a refugee camp, according to Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. The Foreign Secretary David Cameron has called for a sustainable ceasefire.
And there's concerns about alcoholism growing during the festive season. So we are asking this morning, just how much is too much?
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
OK, and there has been a big row that has broken out over the winner of the Miss France competition. All very, very woke. We'll be discussing that in Headline Makers next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion.
Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Acquia, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth. I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, here to talk through what's in the papers and what's making headlines today. We say hello, good morning to Alex Armstrong, political commentator, and Stephanie Tetchy, who is the Showbiz reporter and does lots of other things besides. Very nice to see you both. Let's talk about Michelle Mone. Stephanie, I think that might come under your jurisdiction, first of all, because of the celebrityhood involved in it. So, first of all, she hires a company to give her side of the story in terms of an interview, and then she's gone on the BBC. How's she doing defending herself?
Not well. Whoever she hired to help her with this damage control needs to be sacked. She's finally called a spade, and she said that she's admitted that she's lied, that she was involved with her husband's company when it comes to PPE, which was awarded a contract of £200 million. For months, almost years, she denied anything to do with this. She now went on this interview with Laura Kunsberg, where she's finally admitted it, and she said she wasn't trying to pull the wool over the media's eyes, which she basically has done. I found the interview a total contradiction. To be honest, I think she's just digged her grave even further. She's been honest with the facts to say that she will benefit from her husband's trust, so they've made a profit of £60 million. But a woman of her stature who was so wealthy, I just think if she was honest from the start, maybe she would have had more respect. And now it's a little bit too late.
There's a suggestion that it had echoes of the Prince Andrew interview.
Yes, yeah, it is. I think when celebrities do these interviews, I think they try to come across as woe is me, as she was trying to say she was trying to protect her family. But I'm like, the only reason why you're trying to do this now is because you've been caught out. So what is there left to salvage, which is probably her reputation? But the company is being sued, so she might not be left with very much.
Alex, what's your take?
Yeah, it's a car crash, to put it lightly, isn't it? You know, the whole thing from start to finish, even if we look at the government conduct of this as well, I mean, this contract was pushed through the VIP lane. We spent hundreds of millions on this, and most of that PPE wasn't even used or was classed as defective, which is an even more slap in the face to the taxpayer. I just think the whole thing needs really looking into. I can't believe it got to this point where she's even being allowed to have this car crash interview. It's bizarre. I think the GB News viewers will be watching this going, how's our money being spent? You know?
I don't think anyone who's been involved should be left unscathed in this. There definitely has to be some kind of policy changes when it comes to, especially people who are involved in the political arena, getting involved in kind of deals like this.
You know, Stephanie, I was going to say as well, I mean, she says here, I didn't want there to be another big boo-hoo-ha. My family have gone through media hell. And, you know, to lie about this to the public is just disgraceful. And then to make yourself out to be the victim.
No.
In a £200 million deal. Alex, the whole Israel-Gaza situation that is going on, the West, you know, UK, US, whatever, seem to be changing their tune in their steadfast support for Israel. Initially, everything was fine. even though most people could see that it was not. Now, both the US and the UK finding it hard to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel in terms of the war that they're waging.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been quite a lot happen this week. We're seeing a lot more images coming out of Gaza now, as well as the IDF have started to sweep through pretty deep into the Gaza Strip. Obviously, Lord Cameron coming out here saying they want there to be a sustainable ceasefire, which I don't understand what that means.
What is the difference between a sustainable ceasefire and an immediate ceasefire?
Right.
Is it semantics?
Well, I think it is, Pip, because I think the line is not to say that they want an immediate ceasefire. So there's obviously an agreed line amongst the allies here on what you can and can't say. We saw Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau trip up on that a few weeks ago. But, you know, Ben Wallace is coming out here, and I think there's a really important part to this, which he says, you know, learn the lessons from Britain and Northern Ireland. You are only going to fuel more radicalism in the next 50 years. Learn the lessons and take a leaf out of our book. Look, I do think that there is a question on the other side of this, if we look at Israel's side, to say, you know, who do we negotiate with? Will Hamas give back those who are being kidnapped? And I think that's the question on the Hamas side. Obviously, it's very easy for us to criticise Israel, but we also need to be balanced and look at how do we, negotiate with an organisation like Hamas?
You know, the thing with trying to get rid of Hamas, it's an ideology, and this is the problem which I think Israel will have, because they're trying to say we want to eradicate Hamas, but the more they're trying to do it, you're actually radicalising people who are actually following...
And Hamas top brass are sitting pretty in Qatar.
So you're not actually... What we've been witnessing over the past few months is modern-day genocide. You know, you're not actually attacking these terrorists. You're killing innocent children and people. And how long can that go on until no one's left in Gaza?
I do think there needs to be a bigger international effort to... Pip, you just raised a really important point here, to talk about these Hamas leaders who are sitting very pretty and who are fueling this war. It's very easy to criticise the state of Israel, but when we're not talking about the Hamas leaders who are sitting on millions and millions of dollars, by the way, and actually fueling a war which they refuse to take part in physically. So I do think we need to look at it from both sides, but I think everyone agrees that too many civilians have been killed, and there's got to be a way to call this, get them into this at some point.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Stephanie, this is a very... we sort of digress from the main news agenda. The beauty competition Miss France.
Yes.
A row has broken out over this and over who won. Can you explain to us what the row was?
I think in this particular row, I think we like to use the word woke too many times. So for the Miss France pageantry, for the first time in their history, a woman with a pixie haircut won. And this has left people outraged because they're saying, you know, there was other women there who had long, flowy hair, traditional feminine styles. So the judges are being accused for going for an androgynous look. And so this
give me a
This
break.
is what I'm saying.
So because somebody's got a pixie haircut, they're not a worthy winner?
She doesn't represent femininity. This poor model, Eve Gillet, she's only 20 years old, and she says every woman is different, rightly so. And then she was saying that she shouldn't be attacked just because of her haircut. But there has been this long-standing concept, which people don't really talk about, where if you've got long hair, you're considered more feminine, and if you've got short hair, you're kind of considered a tomboy. But hello, we're in 2023. This kind of look...
But you know, that's like saying you could look at Audrey Hepburn, for instance, and say, you know, she did not represent femininity, but of course she did. So, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. I just look at them as like two beautiful women. I don't see a haircut.
To be honest, I think it's sexism at its finest for traditional people who think that women have to look a certain way. And if they go out of that old school concept of women being, you know, quite smart and gentle, you're obviously a rebel to womanhood.
I think back in the mid-'80s, early 90s, there was a lot of attention put upon Linda Evangelista because of her supermodel looks that were not your Claudia Schiffer and your Cindy Crawfords. She had a very distinctive look about her. And she came under the microscope for that.
Yeah, I think women's hair are always being judged in that sense, because women, that's how we communicate. What we're feeling, what kind of look we want to go for, and I just think it's not, and no one has a right to judge that.
Do you have an opinion on this?
I don't, funnily enough. I think the whole thing's nonsense. I mean, to call it woke, I mean, I don't know what that defines even. That word's being bandied about so often now, I don't even know what it means. But no, I don't really have a strong opinion, if I'm being honest.
No. Now, Pip, you've got a strong opinion from page of the Mirror today, this Reindeer story.
Reindeer horror, yeah. Mirror exclusive, a British firm is selling reindeer shooting hunts as Christmas approaches, offering trips to slaughter the majestic beasts in Norway. Now, I'm sorry, I cannot get into the psychology of anybody that gets a kick out of doing that. It absolutely disgusts me, especially when we look at reindeer, you know, when we go for the sleigh rides and we take the kids to Lapland and then you've got this other group of people who just want to slaughter them. It sickens me.
It's disgraceful. These people are just evil, in my opinion. They are the definition of evil. To know that this company is actually based here in the UK is absolutely sickening, and the fact that they are actually they've actually, if you look at page 4 of the Daily Mirror, you'll see they've got hunting experiences in Scotland, England, Norway, France, Spain, Africa and Argentina. To be promoting these things in our country seems so out of touch with who we are as a society today. I know the government there was a private members bill to ban this that never made it through the final phases, or at least of the trophy, bringing in trophies to this country, but it's absolutely disgraceful. These people should be locked up, in my opinion. Sorry, that's a bit strong, but I do think...
And what if children see this?
It really is sadistic. I think of all the things you can offer for people to do, I don't understand why they think this should be a valuable leisure for people to invest their money in. And it's almost like in Norway, I have to think, isn't there more fury about this?
Yeah.
There's so much you can do with reindeers without actually slaughtering them.
I mean, how out of touch to do it this time of year as well? I mean, really? It's so sickening. It really is. I mean, I really hope there's a big outrage about this, and I hope MPs start looking at this on their newspapers and go, we need to push through this members' bill and actually go further, ban this kind of hunting for sport in the UK entirely.
Yeah, I mean, what are they basically but big cows with horns on? I mean, that's basically what they are. I mean, I can't see reindeers being much threat in any aspect.
There might be an argument from the other side about keeping the reindeer population down. I'd like to hear it.
Rose says. From that, we go to napping cats.
Yes, it's not actually sleeping cats, but it's in art. Basically, it's life imitating art. In northern Thailand, there has been a factory worker who started doing rice paddy art. So he's been using rainbow rice to create 3 felines, sleeping felines, in a rice field. I think we've got a picture of it.
And what are we looking at here?
Oh, I can see now.
Sleeping cats, and he's made this out of rainbow rice. And it's a factory worker in northern Thailand, and he's doing it in a way to promote tourism out there. He says it's quite interesting to kind of mix agriculture with art, and I think it looks fantastic.
That is clever.
Wow. That's a lot more impressive than I thought it'd be.
But I think it'll look better if you're, like, looking down on it. I think you get to appreciate it a bit more.
There you go.
Well, got to appreciate... we about 20 minutes ago, launched an appeal for people with their pets and how they're dressing their pets for Christmas in this festive season. And we showed Pip's little dog and what it was wearing for Christmas. This is my dog and what it's wearing for Christmas. It's got a sort of special Christmassy... That's the dog.
That's Maggie.
What's his name? Or her name?
Don't know, but that's not the picture that I sent to anybody. Have we got a picture of my dog in a red robe?
I've seen this beautiful robe. It's on Instagram.
It's on my Instagram account. I don't know how anybody's missed that one. I forget that. That's a very stupid picture of my dog. Let's forget that. No, but Anne and Hull, we can zoom in on your picture. This is her little Jack. She is...
It's Lily, who's a Jack-Tzu. Now, that's a cross between a Jack Russell and a Shih Tzu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
Lovely little dog.
Right. OK, and that's Millie's outfit, then. That's very nice. Very good.
I love it when pet owners dress up their animals in Santa gear. Christmas gear. It looks so cute.
And from Millie to Billy, Sarah in Stamford says, this is Billy. There it is. And he's ready for Santa with what he's got on there.
Looks
Very
a bit
nice.
small for him, that.
That's a little bit.
Quite tight-fitting.
Oh, here's another one. Sharon in Essex. Hi, Sharon. Morning. This is my tortoise, Gizmo, rocking his Christmas hat. So Gizmo is just basically a walking hat. It's like a traffic cone, isn't he?
I've seen it all now.
Yeah. Right. Sharon in West Yorkshire. Morning, Sharon. You've been very good with this today. Here's a photo of Charlie after his trip to the hairdressers on Friday.
That's a professional shot, that is.
Yeah. He goes to the hairdressers more than Sharon does, she says.
That's true. It costs more to get your dogs clipped at the groomers than it does to get your own hair done.
Oh, that's good, that's good. Keep those coming. You get the idea now. You get the idea what that is all about. Alex, the Defence Secretary Grant Shapps says Britain will destroy the business model of evil small boat gangs, right? How's he going to do that?
Well, we don't know. I think that's the big question, is we don't actually know. There's a lot of rhetoric about stopping the boats, but no one actually has a plan on how we're going to do it. I mean, I've heard outlandish things from actually having people patrol the beaches and slashing them before they get there, but, you know, there's not really an answer to this. It seems that Grant Shapps has used this opportunity to attack Russia, who he's blaming for this crisis, saying that, you know, Russia's using illegal migration as a means of warfare, which may be true, but it seems a little far-fetched, if you ask me. But again, all rhetoric, but no actual, no good policies on how we're going to do it.
That's what really bugs me when it comes to the whole talks about trying to stop the boats. There's always a lot of fight talk, like we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's like you haven't done it so far. So what makes us going to believe that you're going to do it in the future? I think it's all kind of stuff to make people believe that the government's on top of it, but I just think it's a losing battle, if I'm honest.
It's a global problem as well, and maybe more attention needs to be paid as to why these people are leaving their own countries in the first place.
That's a good point.
And what can be done to actually help keep them there. It just feels like we're tackling one end of it, but not the other enough.
And I think you're right, it is a global problem, and I think what's happening is, like, Britain and our government are trying to make themselves look so strong that we're going to be the country that can do it, but actually you need to be working with so many countries in order to tackle it, because us by ourselves, we've gone way above. We can just look at the immigration numbers, we're over our head with it.
This comes after a big event as well. Rishi Sunak was in Italy. I don't know if you have seen this, with the Italian PM Giorgia Meloni. She had this big conference about migration, amongst other things. And he was, you have to watch his comments on this, because he's giving very Braverman-like comments on stopping the boats. So it seems to me that since she's gone, they feel like maybe they're losing the ground politically, at least here domestically, on that language and that rhetoric. So now Rishi and Shapps are gearing it up. Whether it's got this Russia spin to it or not, I don't know. But, you know, Rishi's being quoted by saying, you know, he's going to smash the business model. And I don't really know what the business model is, other than to encourage poor people to come over here and face extremely tough conditions getting here in the first place.
Well, the business model for getting migrants then from Britain into Rwanda requires commercial airlines. We hear today that many of them are backtracking on this. They're worried about reputational damage. Chris has been in touch and he said airlines won't transport legal immigrants. Well, that's fine by me. Get the Royal Air Force to do it instead. And sometimes it just seems with a bit of practicality, all of these things can be solved. And I think Chris is perfectly right. Get the Royal Air Force to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Eamonn, the question is that the government know all of this. They have all these things at their disposal. Why aren't they using them? You know, this so-called emergency legislation that all of a sudden came out of nowhere. Why are we only hearing about this now when we know this has been an issue going on for years? It seems like it's getting a little too late, and whether the public are going to buy any of this, I don't know. But as you said, Eamonn, there are practical solutions to these problems. We just don't seem to be willing to do them.
Could you not put a bunch of judges down in Dover to decide on cases?
I mean, they have proposed similar things, but this all requires more judges, which we already have a lack of, and a system that's already sort of overburdened with the backlog. So, you know, with Rwanda up in the air, there doesn't seem to be any plausible way they're going to get this done before an election. And I think that's the big thing here. Can Rishi stop these boats before an election, and I don't think he can.
And will it deter people, actually? Going to Rwanda, will it actually deter people from making the journey?
Well, you have migrants on the other side interviewed saying that they just laugh at the idea of it. They laugh at the idea of it because they know that there's plenty of judges in the ECHR and others that are going to overturn it, as they've been hearing in the press in Paris.
Vince makes a good point. Good morning. You say the positive is that Parliament is closing for Christmas, so at least they can cause less damage. One way of looking at it.
Well, Stephanie and Alex will be back in 40 minutes' time to cause all sorts of mischief. I hope you can join them for that. Right now, time for an update on weather. Here's Jonathan.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vaughtry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. The rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it will be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel. Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It is 7 o'clock on Monday, the 18th of December. This is Breakfast with Eamonn Holmes and me, Pip Thompson.
Leading the news this morning, this is what we've got for you. The Prime Minister's little to celebrate as the year draws to a close. We look at how his 5 promises are shaping up with more issues for the Rwanda plan. Airlines we're hearing today are refusing to provide planes for the scheme.
The government announces new plans to improve energy efficiency for 1 million households, including a new boiler upgrade scheme worth £1.5 billion. Later this morning, we'll be talking to Energy Minister Lord Callanan.
And concerns are growing about alcoholism during the festive season. We ask just how much is too much on...
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
We're also going to debate whether Piers Morgan should apologise to Prince Harry after a judge ruled the Duke's phone was hacked by his paper, The Mirror.
Paul Coyte is here with the sport on this Monday morning.
Yes, sir. Manchester United get a draw at Liverpool. The World Darts Championship is on. And Ian Wright is leaving Match of the Day.
And Jonathan Vautry has your not-so-wintry weather.
An unsettled week of weather on the way for us, and it will also be turning that bit cooler. Join me later for the full forecast to find out the details.
You can join in any of our discussions. We were talking about alcohol there. David saying, today I celebrate 20 years alcohol-free. Well done to you, David. Keep your views coming in. gbviews@gbnews.com or tweet at gbnews and show us lots of pictures of your festive animals. You've been doing very well so far today. How's your cat, dog, mouse, rabbit?
Tortoise. We've even had a tortoise with a Santa hat on.
Yes, which looks like a walking traffic cone. But get in touch, let us see, we'll share it with the nation. Now, top story today is that the 5 priorities set out by the Prime Minister in January last year look set to fail as we approach the end of that year.
4 are in a bit of a mess. The economy is shrinking and NHS wait times have hardly moved. But one promise is getting there. Inflation is falling, though we're not quite sure how much that has got to do with the Prime Minister.
His pledge to stop the boats by sending asylum seekers to Rwanda is facing more difficulties and tearing his party apart.
There's now reports that airlines are refusing contracts to provide planes to send asylum seekers to Rwanda in fear of reputational damage.
Joining us now, political commentator Andy Williams. Does he stand or fall by this one policy, Andy, or, you know, will more factors come into play?
I don't think it's the be-all and end-all, but he has staked a significant amount of political, political capital on this policy, and his party is completely split by it. You know, the Conservative Party is pretty much out of control at this stage. You've got the right of the Conservative Party who are asking for him to go further and break international law. The sort of centre of the Conservative Party who are saying, well, it's borderline, you know, it's almost too much. And I don't see how he can possibly bring those two sides together. So there are so many hurdles to overcome to even get this policy off the ground.
If it ever does get off the ground. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the bill, which cleared its first hurdle, didn't it, last week? Actually, relatively easily. But in the new year, it could be more sticky.
Definitely. I think that was it's delayed the really, really difficult part because that was a vote on the principle of the bill. Actually, next year, people are going to be looking at the practicality and MPs are going to be voting on specific aspects of it and the detail. And when it comes to the detail, as I said, they're totally riven, completely split on this. And I think it's going to be a real, real mess in January.
And we could have a general election as soon as May, or is the government, do you think, playing the long game here and holding out? Because they can hold out. Is it till January 2025?
That's right. I mean, personally, I think it's going to be October. It obviously could be in 6 weeks' time if you wanted to call it today.
Why do you think October?
I think there are 2 reasons. Firstly, because the government's strategy, they're so far behind in the polls. The strategy is, let's hope something comes up, something falls out of the sky that completely changes the political weather. And it would have to be really, really significant. So either it would be, and God forbid, some kind of national emergency, or a big scandal that affects the way people feel about the Labour Party. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think Keir Starmer is too focused, too sensible for that to happen. So I think that's really unlikely. But when your strategy is, let's hope something comes up, inevitably it's about delay, delay, delay. I think May is just too soon for them to turn it around. As you said, they could go all the way to January, but actually the optics of that looks a little bit desperate. So I think October feels like roughly the sweet spot.
We were talking earlier about finding out the positives. Because there are some positives. I mean, we've touched on inflation, although we're not quite sure whether that is linked to, you know, the Prime Minister claiming the glory for it. Is there anything else? I mean, small boat crossings compared to last year, they are down?
They are down, but you know, and this is one of the challenges with an October election is, in the summer, they'll go right back up, and you're going to be looking at higher numbers again. I've no doubt whatsoever that Rwanda will not be the deterrent they think it is. There will be small boat crossings again. I think if there is a positive to take, you know, is there any great enthusiasm for Labour? Is there a very proactive, positive feeling about Keir Starmer and Labour?
Well, have Labour earned their chance to be in power here? Or are they just capitalising on you know, the government's mess?
Well, it's a bit of both. And I mean, really, what you're looking at is next year will be 14 years of Conservative-led government, and clearly there is... This election is going to be a referendum on 14 years of Conservative-led government, and do you want another 5? And traditionally, after that length of time, the public tend to say, no, thank you, we'd like a change.
I'm just trying to think. They've been in power 13 years. Is there any government in recent...
Thatcher was...
This century? Well, Thatcher was 11 years, wasn't she?
18 years of Conservative government, 11 for Thatcher, and then another 7 for Major. But I think that's the... If there is a glimmer of hope, lots of people are saying, is it a 1992, when the Conservatives came back from being very far behind to win unexpectedly, or is it a 97, a landslide, a Labour landslide? And I think it's going to be one or the other, and it looks right now as if it's more 97 than 92.
What about the percentage of wavering voters? How big is that population? Because it feels like Tories will lose some seats, or Reform might do quite well in terms of damaging the Tory vote.
I think Reform will obviously pick up votes on the right. I don't think... I'd be surprised if they win any seats because of the way the system works. I think, of course, as always, it's all about those floating voters in the centre. But if you look at the polling at the moment, Tories on about 22, 23%. That feels pretty much like the base, people who are always going to vote Conservative. So you've got those 10 or 15% in the middle, and I think it comes back to that. Is it a proactive vote for Labour, or is it people maybe staying at home? Maybe we're going to see a very low turnout.
OK. Well, thank you very much indeed, Andy. Your views are very welcome. GBviews at GBnews.com. Keep them coming in. Some other stories coming into the newsroom. They read like this. The former Conservative peer, Michelle Mone, has admitted she lied over her involvement in PPE deals worth millions. Tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions during the pandemic. She said she was not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes and had not told the truth about her involvement simply to protect her family from press attention.
The owners of a remote French guest house where teenager Alex Batty lived on and off for a number of years have said that he's eager to get back to a normal life after reuniting with his grandmother over the weekend.
A collision with one of President Biden's security detail motorcade cars in Delaware has shaken the White House. The incident occurred after the president and his wife had just left campaign headquarters. Even people who don't drink do at this time of the year, and there's a lot of delirium about this. I mean, personally, I'm not a drinker, but it doesn't annoy me unless people go somewhere over the top. I mean, we were a do on Friday night, and everybody was, you know, they had their drink, but everybody was well behaved. There was no disgrace that I saw.
There was no fights
like that. So whether you're having,
no big gossip to tell you about.
Yeah, even if you were just having a cheeky wee Baileys before bed, do you have a problem? If you have a drinking problem, it mightn't be all that it's cracked up to be.
The charity DrinkAware says more than half of Britons think the country has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, but only 1 in 10 drinkers apparently think they have a problem.
Well, we're going to look more into this, and we want to hear your stories this morning. Our East Midlands reporter Will Hollis has been investigating.
Alcohol took everything from Lee. His job, his family, and eventually his home.
So we're outside Tesco, and this is the spot I used to sit and beg.
He spent 9 months living on the streets of Nottingham. In the day, he'd drink 9 cans of strong lager.
I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be here. I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
More than 500,000 Brits are addicted to alcohol, but millions more drink in a harmful way. At Christmas, booze is everywhere.
The average Brit drinks about 18 units of alcohol in a week, but at Christmas time, that jumps massively to at least 14 units on Christmas Day alone.
A unit of alcohol can be half a pint of beer, a small glass of wine, or a single measure of spirit. DrinkAware found that half of Brits think the UK has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and that 2/3 overindulge at Christmas.
I tend to drink maybe a little bit more at Christmas.
I think most people basically drink to excess.
Tend to have a little bit of a Baileys at Christmas. I think it's quite of a festive thing.
The Nottingham Recovery Network helps anyone struggling with drink or drugs. The charity framework runs the service with council funding.
How is the new programme going?
Apollos is the Director for Health and Social Care.
Alcohol problems and drug problems don't happen on their own. They're usually a symptom of other things going on. So that might be debt, mental health, relationship, housing. We've brought services together to be able to meet the whole of that need.
He says there's a spike in people with drinking problems around Christmas.
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
We get to live again.
Asking for help is how many people start to fix a drinking problem. When Lee asked, the network got him off the streets and into recovery. He's been sober for 3 years now and supports others recovering too.
I'm no longer just existing, I'm actually living life.
Alcohol is a part of Christmas, and that won't change. It becomes a problem when it takes over the celebration. Will Hollis, GB News in Nottingham.
Thanks, Jonathan. Now, here's my point about this. Alcohol, people's lives are stressed, they're bothersome, there's awful things happen in people's lives are dull. People go to alcohol as an escape. I think people think it's a Friday night or whatever, I'm with a few friends, why not? It's Christmas, why not? We're nice company, why not? You know, you and I out on Friday night, we were in nice company, thought it was quite good. You would have a drink even if you don't normally have a drink, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I had a bit of champagne, and I actually never drink champagne because I get really bad headaches with it. But I had an incident a few weeks ago where I got in touch with somebody who I hadn't seen for quite a while to have a chin wag, and said, "Are you around tomorrow?" And the reply I got was they weren't available, partly because they're not drinking at the moment. And I thought, hang on a minute. So us catching up is partly dependent on whether you're drinking alcohol. I just found it a weird response to me.
Yeah, it's not a comfortable response, is it really, that they can only really socialise or be a person or be worthy if they're downing alcohol, whatever. I mean, I don't drink. I don't have... loads of people think I do drink because they say, oh, we got sloshed together. Remember, we had that pub crawl in Manchester. No, it wasn't me. But
Are you sure? It's not just because you can't remember?
No, it's not. I mean, and part of the reason I can't remember or don't want to be in that situation is that I have a phobia about vomiting, and it's got a name, forget what it's called, but it always, ever since I was a teenager, put me off drinking. People say that's because you want to be in control and you don't want to be out of control. No, I don't like being out of control either. But I do like being jolly. I do like the idea of being tipsy. I do like that quite well. But look,
it's crossing that line, isn't there? Tipsy is fine, and sometimes, you know, you're in the thick of it, and it is so easy to forget when somebody's topping your glass up how much you're drinking, and I've been guilty of that.
Also, it depends if you're spending or someone's buying for you, I suppose, as well. A lot of people have no difficulty buying themselves drink, but a lot of people are very tight or don't have the money, and they don't want to do it. They don't want to get involved in it. But it's it's not just simple, it's a complicated thing. And let us know how it affects you, and if you think you have got a problem, and also we'll let you know what help is available if that is the case. The weather picture, Jonathan Vautry with that.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. Then the rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it will be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jonathan. The day gets better and better now as we give away £10,000 cash, brand new tech and shopping vouchers in the Great British Giveaway.
Sorry, I thought you were singing. I was waiting for you to carry on.
I'm saying this is so amazing. This is so incredible, and you're obviously enjoying it because a lot of you are entering, and the final draw will be made in January with all those prizes and more. Have you got a list for Santa?
Do you know what? I haven't, and I keep being asked, but I just like to be with my family, honestly. And I know that sounds really twee, but I'm really not bothered. I just want to be with my family. Christmas selection box. I would like a new coffee machine. That is but I'm waiting for the January sales.
Or some scents or anything. I always like there's a certain type of aftershave that I would quite like. It's expensive, and I often think that presents should be something that you just wouldn't buy yourself because it's a bit overindulgent.
Yeah.
If someone buys it for you, you'll gladly accept it.
Scent's a difficult one, though, because it's so personal.
Yeah, but not if I tell you what it is. You have a sniff. Have a sniff. Yeah.
Oh, what is that's quite nice, actually. What's that one?
What do we want to say? In case people feel sorry for me and start buying it for me and solving all my problems. Anyway.
Right. Big giveaway. Here's all the details.
Irish tweed. Anyway, there we go.
Here's all the details.
Yes, the giveaway.
It's the Great British Giveaway, your chance to grab some amazing prizes and start your new year the right way. You could win an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Imagine having all of that extra cash in your bank account. We'll also bring you bang up to date with the very latest iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we'll give you £500 worth of shopping vouchers to spend in the store of your choice. For another chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
That is such good news, and we should say earlier when we were talking about the country having a drink problem, and we're going to be developing that throughout the programme this morning, if you or people around you need help with drinking, you can get more information and, more importantly, more help from the Alcoholics Anonymous website, and that is
www.alcoholicsanonymous.org.uk. They're brilliant, so do reach out to them.
Will Piers Morgan reach out to Prince Harry after a judge ruled that the Duke's phone was hacked by Piers's Mirror newspaper? Views on that? We'll be debating it next.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist. And you survived? I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like? I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three. Oh!
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Amazing. Do you know the things we find to talk about during the programme? Oh, much more interesting than actually what happens during the programme.
You need to tell the audience.
No.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Don't do that. Prince Harry has won most of his claims against the publishers of the Mirror newspaper. In his latest court battle, the High Court ruled that phone hacking was widespread and habitual, while Piers Morgan was the editor of the Daily Mirror at the time.
Instead of an apology to the Prince, this was Piers Morgan's statement.
As for him saying this is a good day for truth, the Duke has been repeatedly exposed in recent years as someone who wouldn't know the truth if it slapped him around his California tanned face. He demands accountability for the press, but refuses to accept any for himself for smearing the royal family, his own family, as a bunch of callous racists without producing a shred of proof to support those disgraceful claims.
So that was Piers on Friday. It didn't upset him that much that he cancelled his Christmas party, because he didn't. He went and had a Christmas party that night, and he seems, quite determined that he knew nothing about the phone hacking. Other people are incredulous that as the editor of the newspaper, he knew nothing, but he's saying he did know nothing. This morning we are asking what?
We are asking, no matter what your views are on Harry and Meghan, is it time for Piers Morgan to apologise?
And if so, about what? We're now joined by political commentator Femi Nylander, who believes he should apologise, and royal correspondent Michael Cole, who believes he shouldn't. Michael, it's looking, it doesn't look good. Piers has denied in very strong terms that he knew anything about this. Where do you think this leaves him?
It's an absurd notion that Piers Morgan should apologise. He wasn't a party to this case. He wasn't called as a witness by either side. He wasn't represented in court, and yet he was criticised by the judge, Mr. Justice Fancourt, and he's become the centre of the story. I'm afraid I'm with P.G. Wodehouse on this, the creator of Jeeves and Wooster. And P.G. Wodehouse said, it is a good rule in life never to apologise. The right sort of people do not want apologies, and the wrong sort take a mean advantage of them. And I think that was what would happen in this case. Piers Morgan's a very experienced journalist at a very high level, going back at least 30 years to my certain knowledge. And I believe that he is a reputable person, and more than that, I believe he's a respectable journalist who's done a lot of good work.
Well, let's find out what Femi believes. Femi.
Oh, okay.
Piers Morgan is a crybaby. He got fired from his job for for basically continuously attacking this man's wife for no real reason. And then storming off stage when he was challenged about it by a weatherman. That's the reality of it. But of course, if you are the head of an organization, if you are the editor, or if you're the head teacher of a school and one of your teachers is found to be involved in misconduct, usually what you'd find is the head teacher would apologize to the parents on behalf of that organization, whether or not they were aware or not. But the reality is Piers probably was aware, and we know that Piers probably was aware of phone hacking and how ubiquitous it was. And knowing what we know about Piers' character, I myself have spoken to Piers before. I was on Good Morning Britain with Piers. I myself, knowing what I know about Piers' character, it wouldn't surprise me, because as I said, this is a man who has a list of people to whom he could be apologising to. And I don't follow the royals that closely. I'm not a royalist. I'm not that interested, to be frank. But one of those people would be Harry, not even for this stuff about the phone hacking, just for how he's treated Harry's wife.
Michael, what do you think of that? I mean, is there not a thinking that you should only apologise if you really believe in what you're apologising for? And I don't think in a million years Piers would ever apologise, because he genuinely does not think there is anything to apologise for.
Exactly. He said very clearly that he never authorised or was aware of hacking when he was the editor of the Daily Mirror. But let's get down to cases. There were 15 instances in which the judge found that there had been hacking or blagging, in other words, illicit intrusion into Prince Harry's private life. Only one of those instances in the timeline occurred during the editorship of the Daily Mirror by Piers Morgan. And he said, as I said, without any question that he knew of nothing of that kind. He didn't authorise it. He wasn't aware
Michael,
of it.
I would say that his statement was very carefully worded. You know, that statement he made would have been passed through his lawyers. He said he didn't tell anyone to hack phones.
Yeah.
You could read more into that.
Yeah, well, we need proof positive. We can't work on innuendo on these matters. If this matter is going to be tested, it should be tested in court. As I say, he wasn't represented in court. Perhaps he should have been. He wasn't called as a witness by either side, and yet he ends up being the centre of the story, which strikes me as being unwise and unhelpful, and indeed unfair. I think we're all entitled to be regarded as innocent until proven otherwise, and I think it's unfair. He's a big boy. He can stand up for himself. He clearly has. He's come out fighting. And really, what has happened in this case? He was convicted, as far as I can see, or he was accused on the word of Omid Scobie. Now, Omid Scobie was a former gossip column writer who worked for a couple of magazines, neither of which I'd ever heard of, and he's written a book. Now, just because something is in between hard covers doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. So the judge has accepted what Omid Scobie says about what he overheard when he was on work placement at the Daily Mirror as fact. But Piers Morgan wasn't called as a witness. He wasn't asked about it. Had he done so, I'm sure he would have given a full account of himself.
OK, Femi, let's bring you back in just to respond to Michael's comments there. What do you make of them?
Again, this idea that one should never apologise for anything is preposterous for one, and just kind of ties into a culture of a non-account. No, you didn't say that. You didn't say that nobody. I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying that the gentleman on the other side of the argument said that. He talked about PG Woodhouse and said that PG Woodhouse said you should never apologise. You said you should never apologise. So I'm referring to his initial comments, not yourself. Okay.
Thank you.
But your comments, still, I think would and should are two different things. You can say someone would. You said Piers would never apologise. Doesn't mean he should never apologise. Again, I'm to draw an analogy, and this is an analogy on two fronts. An analogy on the would should thing, but it's also an analogy on the idea of apologising for an institution, even if you may not be the person directly involved. You've had me on this show before, or maybe you haven't, but GBNews has had me on before to talk about the royals apologising for their own institutional history and the institution of that history, the history of that institution, despite the fact that none of the royals themselves were directly involved. Again, they are the representatives of that institution. Piers Morgan was the representative of the institution at the time, and it has been said at the time when some of what has been found in court to have happened. And therefore, if he is then asked, do you think that this was bad? Do you think maybe you should have been more vigilant? Do you think that phone hacking at that institution during your editorship there is something you might want to apologise for? Just take a bit of humility and say, yeah, I'm sorry that happened. He could even say, I'm sorry that happened, or I'm sorry that I wasn't. He doesn't need to say, I'm sorry that I personally hacked someone's phone. No. It's like we need to be more humble here sometimes.
We've got to leave it there.
Country.
And Michael Cole, thank you very much indeed for your contribution as well. Folks, what do you think? Let us know. Just before we go on to the sports news, we have got doggy pictures, updated festive doggies. This is my doggy, first of all. She's got a sort of quite royal robe there that has her name emblazoned on it. And this is Paul Coyte's doggy. Coming up now. What are we seeing here, Paul?
There's Dudley. Dudley's the one that bit me, but look at him, what a sweetheart. There he is by the...
Why is he a sweetheart to be at your hand?
Because he's my dog and I love him, whatever. That's
You're
what
very
can you
forgiving.
do. I am very forgiving. Yeah, no, he's all right. No, he gives me lots of love, so he's nice.
Festive pictures of your cats, dogs, mice, rats, rabbits, whatever it happens to be. We've had a tortoise in today. Let us know. We'll keep reflecting those throughout the programme today. So, sports-wise, do you know what?
Yeah.
The Luton captain.
Tom Lockyer.
So sad what that lad's been through a couple of times, and you wonder what his long-term future is. He suffered a cardiac arrest on the pitch
They were playing at Bournemouth.
That's right.
What's the latest? What do we
Well, the latest is it's just that we know that he was responsive at the ground and that he was taken to hospital. And the words are stable and undergoing tests, and that's it. And Bournemouth have just said, if everybody can just step away, we will let you know what's going on as far as he's concerned. Atrial fibrillation is what he had in that playoff. So that was back in May when he collapsed on the pitch.
This was at Wembley.
And this was at Wembley Stadium, and that was a hugely worrying time because we've seen this before. We saw it with Fabrice Mwamba at Spurs quite a few years ago, and then Christian Eriksen playing in the World Cup as well for Denmark. And then when Tom collapsed, obviously you always fear the worst, but he was okay. So he was given a small operation, he said, that would stop because the atrial fibrillation, which basically makes the heartbeat faster and irregular pace as well. So that was sorted, and then he was given the all clear, but he was told 4 weeks. Don't let the heart beat fast for 4 weeks, but then you're going back into professional sport. Of course, none of us are doctors; we can never say. But the immediate thought would be, if it's happened and has it been fixed? Well, we see the result there, and then he went into cardiac arrest. Who knows where we go from here? But we wish him, obviously, all the best. But whether you think he'll play football again professionally, I don't know. I mean, Christian Eriksen had a pacemaker fitted. And so he can play in the Premier League, although he wasn't allowed to play in Italy anymore because they said they wouldn't allow that, which is bizarre. I don't know why, whether it be the fact that there is a heart condition at all, but they won't allow any player to play with a pacemaker, whereas they can in this country.
As you say, we wish him and his family all the best.
Of course, absolutely.
Righty, Ian Wright, stepping down from Match of the Day at the end of the season.
Now, let me ask you what you make of this. So he's been there since '97. And he's terrific, Ian, right? And he's a great bloke, and I think he's a fantastic pundit and always adds something to whatever he does. 1997, then he started as with Des, was when he first appeared on Match of the Day. So he's 60 now, and has said, well...
Right, he's 60.
He's 60.
Push.
Looks great for 60. Said that he's going to step away. I hope it's not a push. You know, we've seen so many of these. Nobody ever truly admits to it, do they, and says, well, actually, I'm going to give her the elbow. But he said at the end of the season, I don't know whether this is going to be the start of something, that maybe Lineker will disappear maybe afterwards, but it does make me wonder. I don't want to be cynical about it.
Maybe would take Lineker's job.
Well, no, because he's going to walk away. That's it. He's not even going to be on. He's not going to be on the show anymore. And I don't know whether they think 60. You know, we lost Mark Lawrence a couple of years ago. He walked away. He was a little bit older, but. I don't know.
That would be a bit ageist, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Especially with his wealth of knowledge and insight that he brings to the game. But we have seen it before.
We've seen plenty of it before.
We've seen plenty of that. And,
absolutely.
And also wealth comes into it as well, because the longer you tend to have been there, the more you will be paid, and they'll be looking to cut their wage bill.
Maybe he is. Maybe he has decided to walk, but it's a hell of a gig to walk away from. He's been doing it.
Birthdays. Tell us birthdays.
Right, birthdays. I've got a showbiz birthday for you today, and see if you can guess how old he is. And there's a story around this, and I just want to quickly share it with you. And it was related to a sporting event. A very good friend of mine was at a celebrity cricket game quite a few years ago, and he was sitting at the bar, and everybody was playing cricket, and there was him and this guy. And my friend, he never seems to recognise anybody. And he's having a chat with him. He says, "Oh, you know, do you like cricket?" And the guy's going, "Yeah, I like a bit of cricket. You know, yeah, it's okay." So they get having a conversation, and he says, "So, what do you do?" He said, "Well, what do you do for a living?" Says to this guy, and the guy goes, "Well, I'm in a rock and roll band." And he says, "Oh, are you? How do you make a good living?" And he says, "Yeah, we do okay, we do all right." And he said, "Oh, well, nice to meet you." Anyway, he walks away, and his mate goes, "Do you know who you were just talking to?" He said, "It was Keith Richards." It was Keith Richards. And he's going, "Yeah, I'm in a rock and roll band. We do okay, we don't do bad." And it was Keith Richards. So anyway, it was Keith's birthday today. How old? There he is. Look at him, the legend. Blimey, he just keeps going on and on. Doing an American tour next year. How old do you reckon Keith is today? What do you reckon?
82.
82 for Keith?
I'd say you're not far wrong.
No, not far wrong.
Because Mick Jagger's just turned 80, hasn't he? And
That's
I think
right.
Keith Richards is slightly older.
And they were at school together in Dartford, so...
Were they?
Mm-hmm. What do you reckon?
Slightly younger. Go for a draw. 80.
Correct.
Oh.
80 today.
Sorry, Keith. I put 2 years on you.
Hey, he looks 93, so I shouldn't worry about that.
You put me in the ballpark there with that 80. That was quite good. I like his little birthday quizzes.
Oh, I love a quiz.
Esther McVeigh will be telling you all the details of her new investigation. She's the Minister of Common Sense. I like to think that I'm the Minister of Common Sense in
I
the
think
studio.
you are as well.
I think,
Esther McVeigh, 35.
Careful.
Just trying to keep me job. Trying to keep me job, that's all.
It's good common sense there. Back after this.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamonn.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's
my new teeth.
It's your new
It's- I
teeth.
know.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews at gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. The Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Things that make the headlines this morning. Alex Armstrong, Stephanie Tetchy with these. We're talking about visa rules, Alex, first of all. Multinational families threatened with division or exiled by the new income thresholds, which were introduced a couple of weeks ago, are planning legal action. So they say it's a cruel and inhumane policy. So the idea was to keep migration numbers down, but the inevitable challenge has happened.
That's right, Eamonn. Yeah, so the government are raising the threshold from 18,600 to be exact, to 38,700, which is quite a big jump. I will say this, look, I think if the government need to get down migration, and one of the things they can control is legal migration, this is one of the more sensible choices. I don't think two people can live off of a salary of $18,600 in this day and age, frankly. I think it's impossible almost. So having realistic targets where you say it's a realistic salary you might be able to have two people live off of, certainly not in London, might I add, but elsewhere in the country. So whilst it may seem cruel, and I understand people want to bring their families here and they have worked hard to do so, it seems to me like this is a rather sensible thing to do. And I think
so. You're saying that please do come and work here anyway, but just don't bring anybody related to you. It's us being kind to you. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think the reality is if they come here and they have to live off of that salary together, they're going to be in a bit of poverty and they're going to struggle.
No, there's no doubt. So the rule then should be only if you can live off that salary yourself, that you're the only type of person we really want. If there's someone attached to you, it ain't going to work.
I think that's probably what I would say is right, Eamonn. I think, look, if two people, it's just too little on 18,000. I don't think it's plausible, and I don't think many people in this country will see it as a plausible salary. You will end up on more likely end up on benefits and be a burden to the state rather than bringing some value. And I think if you are going to migrate to a country, you should be able to bring value, and your family should bring value as well. I think those are values that everyone can get behind in the country, and I think that's the right policy.
Well, a very, very well argued, mister, I have to say. Stephanie, what would you say to what Alex is saying here?
Gosh, I'm a bit of a softie in that sense, where I do think it's a bit too steep of a hike going from 18,000 to 38,000. Barely anyone in this country is making 38,000, letting someone who's just going to be migrating over here. And I do think there is that thing where families do want to be together. I think there is that kind of moral side of this issue where I think there has to be some kind of loophole that makes it acceptable, where, you know, you're given a certain time frame where you can be given that opportunity to earn this 38,000. I just think it's a bit unrealistic. It's good for the government in terms of deterring people, but you do want families together.
But you talk about deterring people, but we need people. The care sector needs people because we can't recruit them here.
And the thing is, but they're not even paying this kind of money anyway.
The thing is that you're right, and one of the reasons why these salaries are low is because of cheap labour. So you can't actually incentivise higher salaries through bringing on board a lot of cheap labour. And actually, that's a big problem we face in this country, is that immigrants who do come over here are given jobs on a lower salary than the average British person's allowed to have. And so we do need to tackle this issue. And if we're talking about sensible, common sense ways the government can do this, this seems to me like one of them. Like I said, I do get the moral responsibility that people want to live with their families, but you do have to think to yourself, if I'm going to come somewhere and be a burden on the state, is that a good thing to do?
Could you do that, Alex, though? If you were going to work somewhere, could you leave your partner behind, your children behind?
But I don't think I would ever move to a country where I would put my family in that kind of jeopardy in the first place, where they wouldn't be able to put food in their mouths. I think that's. But
say if it looked like a better option than from the country that you're living in right now.
Well, then we have to look at it.
Because most people look at Britain as a golden meal ticket, in the sense where they're getting much more benefits than they do back in the countries they're originating from.
You're absolutely right, but then we have to then decide morally as a country, should we allow people to come here when they're not going to add value to the state, and then they have to live off of the taxpayer?
But they will be adding value because they're the ones who are doing the cheap labour jobs,
but then it's
which we don't want to do.
But it's the second other half that's actually not making a salary that's then going to possibly push them into the benefits.
So the way round this is you either dump your other half and you say, right, I'm going to pursue a new career in the UK. You either find somebody who can get a job the same as yours, so you both get into the country together, and then suddenly it all turns out magically well, or you find a new partner here.
No. It's not that black and white, no.
No?
No, not at all. Right. I think people, you know, one person will have a dream, and in most families, you know, there's someone who will have to support the other partner. And
but, Stephanie, we're not going to be in this situation. I mean, here's the reality, where you can say, you can have a job in the UK, that's great, and you can bring
your wife and your 3 children with you. That's where it's all going wrong.
I know, and I think it is sad because I do think families should stay together. That is my main thing.
But that's their moral decision to make, right?
Yeah.
They must understand that, and I would look at that if I was moving abroad as well. I'd look at what salary I could earn, if I could bring my other half as well. That would be a very important part of my decision, and then to make sure I can live a good life, not a worse one than I have.
I just think the problem with these kind of schemes is that they need to factor these kind of situations in.
Yes, and also, as Stephanie was saying earlier, who do you get if not these people? Because no one else wants to do these jobs. Yeah. Right, OK, we'll leave it out there. Right, Stephanie, you. Netflix subscriber spike. Data showing a spike in Netflix subscriptions after password sharing crackdown. So basically, while people were able to share their viewership, now they don't, so therefore that leads to more people having to subscribe.
Yeah, so Netflix, it was a free-for-all for most people because people were password sharing, but back in May they cracked down. They said there'll be an additional cost if you're giving your password to someone outside of your household. So since that, they've seen like a spike in subscriptions by up to a quarter, which I think is quite good for Netflix because everybody loves watching Netflix. It's binge watching, it's streaming.
Do you not ever watch it?
You love
I
Netflix.
do watch it, but I mean, I really find my whole viewing is disjointed. I don't know what channel I'm watching, what programmes are on those channels. In the days where you had 3 channels at home, 4, 5 channels, and everybody communally watched those, that's fine. But now you could say to me, Eamonn, what did you do over the weekend? And I will say to you, I watched 4 Netflix films.
Yeah.
What were they called, Eamonn? I don't know what they were called because they're never billed big enough. They're just there, and they're all the same. They're all about some man whose wife has been kidnapped and held by a Colombian drug baron, and he used to be a secret agent, and now he's reactivated to come back and blow everybody
But
up.
you still watch it, Amy. You still get lured in.
I do watch it, but I
Netflix.
find it very, very hard to find something normal. So look, OK, what's normal? Country Files normal on a Sunday night on BBC One. You go to Netflix and try and look for something equivalent. There's nothing.
Oh, I can tell you, I will look on Netflix. Not a word of a lie. I can spend half an hour scrolling. Looking for something to watch, being completely indecisive. It's ridiculous. And I get to the end, and I'm like, well, I could have watched a film.
There's too much options.
And are you not subscribed to all of them now? I mean, I end up paying more than I would for a box set.
I've cut back recently. I've got my monthly bill down by 30 quid less because I'm just not watching the stuff.
I did the same. I did the same. Cut back. I mean, you say to me, I saw a really good thing the other night. Liam Neeson was in it. It was what channel was it on, Eamonn? I don't know. Was it Amazon Prime? Was it Disney Plus? Was it Netflix? Honest to goodness.
Unfortunately, we just live in that generation. When it comes to entertainment, we have so many things vying for our attention, especially for the younger generation. They love too much choice, and Netflix provides that, unfortunately. And everyone's got a short attention span because, last week...
I don't have a short attention span. I don't.
He's watched 4 films in one night.
No, I mean, I can watch... I mean, my first thought today, getting into the car this morning, was, what am I going to do over Christmas? Finding something to watch, right? And I think to myself, right, well, do you know what I'm going to do? Stuff everybody, because no one's going to watch anything with me. I'm going to take about 3 or 4 really good Westerns, like Rio Bravo or something like that, and I'm going to keep them and watch them for myself. And that's how I'm going to spend Christmas, with selective things that I know will work for me. But it sounds old-fashioned, sounds corny.
It sounds a bit antisocial, to be honest.
No, people are being antisocial because nobody... My kids, are you coming to watch this? No, I'm watching something on my phone. Watch the football. No, I'm talking to my friends as I'm watching the football. It's all... I think everybody else is antisocial.
I think, Eamonn, you're more likely to find those Westerns on Netflix or Amazon than... Because when you're looking at traditional...
Yeah, but you can't get anybody
TV.
to watch them with you. I know what you're saying. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I find myself watching Gold now, watching One Foot in the Grave, The Vicar of Dibray, Dad's Army. You know,
Gavin and Stacey.
But you're going back in the past. You're going back for things that were or are.
Nostalgia.
You just don't get those types of shows anymore. They've been killed off by Netflix, actually. So I love that you watch. I love watching UK TV Gold. It's great.
Yeah. Well,
I found myself watching Murder, She Wrote the other day.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't got to that stage yet. But I have started watching Vigil. You know, the first one set on a submarine.
Saran Jones.
Yeah, Saran Jones and what are the drones that are attacking the army and things like that. So I'm actively looking for stuff that I won't watch because I'm saving for the Christmas holiday.
Oh, I love watching Christmas TV. That's when I switch off Netflix.
Can I ask you, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Do you watch on Channel 5?
Yeah.
All those... she's lost her job and moved to a village, and he's a lumberjack.
You can continue this. We've got to go to the weather. Here's Jonathan Vaughtry.
Anyway, yes, and then she falls in love with him. And
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vaughtry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. The rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it will be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with you three.
Oh! No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, very good morning. Good to see you. 8 o'clock on the dot, Monday, 18th of December. Your breakfast today served up to you by me, Eamonn, Holmes and Thompson.
Here's what's leading the news this morning. The Prime Minister has little to celebrate as the year draws to a close. We look at how his 5 promises are shaping up, or not, with more issues for the Rwanda plan, as it's claimed that airlines are refusing to provide planes for the scheme.
The government announces new plans to improve energy efficiency, including a new boiler upgrade scheme worth £1.5 billion. Very shortly, we're going to be talking to the Energy Minister.
And there's concerns about alcoholism during the festive season. So we're asking just how much is too much?
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
Low traffic neighbourhoods, do you live in one? Well, they are saving the planet, or just are they another money-making scheme?
Paul Coit is here with your sport.
Why does your voice rise when you say his name?
It's the excitement, Pip. I understand that.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Cheeky so-and-so.
Thank you very much. I'd just like you to know that I'm completely neutral and impartial when it comes to talking about sport. Arsenal are top of the Premier League. And other stuff. Darts and singing Christmas songs at Dortmund as well.
It'll not last, I wouldn't worry. I think Arsenal are a very good team, but I still just can't look beyond Manchester City, even though they're dropping points here and there, but they're just too good not to succeed.
Well, I'm just a little worried at the moment. That's all.
No, don't worry about
it. Might ruin my Christmas.
Jonathan Vaughtry has your weather picture.
An unsettled week of weather on the way for us, and it will also be turning that bit cooler. Join me later for the full forecast to find out the details.
Now, today we've been talking about doggies, and we've been talking about being festive, and we're talking about pussies, and we're talking about rabbits and mice and all sorts of things as well. If you've got a festive picture, let us know. So let's cut that music. Right, that's irritating me, thank you.
Needs Christmas music for this.
And let's see Christmassy doggies. Right, where's Cody gone? We've done his dog, haven't we? Let's have a look. Whose dog is this? Right, Sophie. Is this Sophie's dog?
This is from Sophie, and this is Sophie's husband Terry on Perranporth Beach in Cornwall with your 3 rescued English bulldogs from the Edward Foundation.
Sophie, you're doing God's work. 3 rescue dogs. That's absolutely brilliant. And look at the happiness she's brought that dog. This is Kobe, and this is from Joe. And Joe says, this is my Doberman, Kobe. And Kobe is a big boy for 2 years of age.
Oh, he's majestic. Karen and Martin, good morning. This is your son Alfie with your dog Bruce. Your son seemed happy about the outfit. That looks a bit like a onesie, doesn't it? Not so sure about Bruce.
They're matching. You see that? That's very, very good. Anne in Southampton says, this is our rescue Jack Russell, as you can see there. And doesn't he look a pretty boy? In his pyjamas there. James in Milton Keynes has sent us Bo. Bo, all set for Christmas, as you can see there. Very, 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 very nice. Someone bought us, for our dog, a Christmas tree coat. That's quite prick. Christmas. It's hard to explain, but it's all full of things anyway. Anyway, we've got a government minister on board now. We're going to speak to Lord Callanan, and he's the energy efficiency minister. Let's go to him, and we say hello, good morning to you, Lord Callanan, and energy efficiency is what you want to talk about. You've got a lot of money in terms of grants. Who are you ready to give it to, and why?
Well, there's a number of different schemes, but basically anybody, firstly in terms of those who want to electrify their heating and convert to a heat pump boiler upgrade scheme. The amount of money available for that is being tripled, and you can get a grant of £7,500 if you want to install one. There are also a number of other schemes, some of them available to anybody in council tax bands A to D, and most of them targeted towards those on lower incomes. But energy efficiency is something we feel incredibly passionate about, and we need to improve the energy efficiency of homes in the UK.
And I know a lot of people like yourself talk about heat pumps. What, my dear Lord, is a heat pump, and how is it every house that they are suited to? For instance, if you live in a terraced house, if you live in a flat or an apartment, would a heat pump work for you or not?
Well, a heat pump is effectively a fridge in reverse. That's probably the best way of describing it. But it's a means of electrifying your heating, replacing your gas boiler with an electrically powered, very efficient appliance. They're about 3 times more efficient than gas boilers. We reckon about over 80% of homes in the UK are suitable for a heat pump, but it would very much depend on your individual circumstances.
And how soon will people see this money? Because a lot of families are saying they need help now. Energy bills are still sky high. They are going to be going up again in January when that energy price cap rises, costing families some £94 extra a year. They need help soon. ASAP.
Well, they are getting help. They are getting help, and last winter we supported all families, and we paid about half of everybody's energy bills. Obviously, thankfully, prices have fallen somewhat since then, but we still have the energy price guarantee in place. We're spending about £104 billion of support for those on the lowest incomes. A warm homes discount of £150 a year is available to millions of families. Winter fuel payment for pensioners and others. So there is a considerable amount of support out there, but I entirely accept that it is a difficult time for many.
Yeah. You say a considerable amount of support. Can you put a figure on that for us?
We're spending about £104 billion this year on support for those on the lowest incomes.
That's an incredible amount. Obviously, this is something you feel now we've got to take seriously. Now we've got to do this. What is your thinking behind this? Why now?
Well, I mean, these are continuations of schemes that are already in existence. It's an ongoing programme. We're spending also about £6.5 billion over this Parliament. But reducing our energy use, if you can use less of it, very expensive energy, then that's clearly a good thing. So upgrading your property, retrofitting it, fitting insulation is important. But from a wider point of view, the reason that we're seeing such massive spikes in prices is because our own supply supplies of oil and gas from the North Sea are declining. We're having to import more and more. And you saw the massive price spike last winter caused by Putin's invasion of Ukraine. So we need to reduce our usage of imported, expensive fossil fuels. And alongside our climate commitments, all of that points towards increased electrification, generating the power that we use here in the UK from solar, from offshore wind, from nuclear, etc. And that requires increased electrification. But it's a transition and it will take place over a number of years, but government support is there to help you to do it.
Look, Callanan, I just wondered if you could help us, because we've been talking this morning about the five priorities set by the Prime Minister, most of which look like they're going to fail as we approach the end of the year. What do you think is successful?
Well, a couple of things. Firstly, the Prime Minister promised to halve inflation by the end of the year, and we've met that target. The Prime Minister has promised to stop the boats. They're down by 30% since he made that promise. We need to go further, which is why we've introduced new legislation into Parliament, the strongest measures on immigration that have ever been proposed. So we're really, really clamping down on these things, and they reflect, I think, what the priorities of the British people are.
Except inflation isn't really to do with the Prime Minister, is it? Inflation going down?
Well, it's a range of different factors. Obviously, the Independent Bank of England is responsible for setting interest rates, but the overall economic management of the country is down to the Prime Minister. To put it another way around, if inflation had gone up, I'm sure you would be wanting to blame him for it.
OK.
Yeah, that's for another day. Thank you, Lord Callanan. Thank you very much indeed. Good talking to you. And stay warm. Joining us now, the Director at Export Unlocked, Richard Bartlett, to analyse what Lord Callanan was saying there in terms of insulation, heat pumps and all sorts of things like that. The government are throwing a lot of money at this, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely, Eamonn. Good morning, Eamonn. Yeah, they're throwing a lot of money on it, but I think they need to have a clear strategy on this. I think it's all right, announcing lots of money. We've just heard that they're going to be doing this, that and the other. But what does it actually mean, and how are they going to be efficient? These heat pumps cost a lot of money. They might be subsidising it by £7,500 or whatever the figures are saying. But we know then pumps cost between 12 and 18,000, and the actual efficiency takes over 5 to 10 years to actually use efficiency into the carbon footprint. So, a lot of the things, the insulation, we're all for this. We're all for, them supporting consumers to help them. But again, how are they going to do that? What is a clear strategy on this? It's not clear. They just throw money at things. They said they're going to do this. I mean, one thing that people don't realise, heat pumps are actually, most of the heat pumps are imported actually from China. So how does that affect our carbon footprint as we move forward as a country when we're trying to lower our emissions, but yet we're going to be importing lots of this products in?
We think you need a bit of sound insulation, or else I'm the only one going mad here. Is everybody else hearing all this noise? Yeah, what's that noise going on around you? It sounds like a cat being strangled or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm in a service station. I've had to pull over and try and get the internet working.
Well, that's good. Well done. That's dedication to duty. Well done to you. £105 billion he was talking about in terms of heat pumps and making those available. Do you believe that? That's a lot of dosh.
No. Where do them heat pumps come from, Eamonn? Where are we going to be bringing these? Have we got factories that can supply this, supply and demand? Yeah. How can this actually work? So, yeah, it's a big ask. And, heat pumps come from China. So how does that affect your carbon footprint when you bring it in? You've still got a supply chain. It's one of the big issues there. Can you keep up to the supply chain?
Yeah, that's it. Richard, we've got to leave you there. Thanks, really, really appreciate you pulling into that service station, mate, but the noise has beaten us there. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis of the government's plans as regards helping us all become more energy efficient. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
That was very good of him, though, wasn't it?
Very good. Very
He gave it a go.
Yes.
Didn't quite work, but he gave it a go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Christmas parties, a lot of drink being thrown around there. And even Santa gets a drink at Christmas. Do you leave Santa a drink at Christmas?
And a carrot
and
for the reindeer.
And a mince pie.
Do the lot.
Whatever. Anyway, alcohol is everywhere. But if you have a drinking problem, that might not be such a good time of year for you.
Yeah, the charity DrinkAware says more than half of Britons think this country has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, but only 1 in 10 drinkers think they have a problem.
Well, let's go to our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis. He's been investigating this.
Alcohol took everything from Lee. His job, his family, and eventually his home.
So we're outside Tesco, and this is the spot I used to sit and beg.
He spent 9 months living on the streets of Nottingham. In the day, he'd drink 9 cans of strong lager.
I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be here. I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
More than 500,000 Brits are addicted to alcohol, but millions more drink in a harmful way. At Christmas, booze is everywhere.
The average Brit drinks about 18 units of alcohol in a week, but at Christmas time, that jumps massively to at least 14 units on Christmas Day alone.
A unit of alcohol can be half a pint of beer, a small glass of wine, or a single measure of spirit. DrinkAware found that half of Brits think the UK has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and that 2/3 overindulge at Christmas.
I tend to drink maybe a little bit more at Christmas.
I think most people basically drink to excess.
I tend to have a little bit of a Baileys at Christmas. I think it's quite of a festive thing.
The Nottingham Recovery Network helps anyone struggling with drink or drugs. The charity framework runs the service with council funding.
How is the new programme going?
Apollos is the Director for Health and Social Care.
Alcohol problems and drug problems don't happen on their own. They're usually a symptom of other things going on. So that might be debt, mental health, relationship, housing. We've brought services together to be able to meet the whole of that need.
He says there's a spike in people with drinking problems around Christmas.
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year. We get to live again.
Asking for help is how many people start to fix a drinking problem. When Lee asked, the network got him off the streets and into recovery. He's been sober for 3 years now and supports others recovering too.
I'm no longer just existing, I'm actually living life.
Alcohol is a part of Christmas, and that won't change. It becomes a problem when it takes over the celebration. Will Hollis, GB News in Nottingham.
Well, if you or your loved ones are struggling with alcohol, you can get more information on the Alcoholics Anonymous website. The address is www.alcoholicsanonymous.org.uk. Do get in touch with them because they do brilliant work and offer wonderful support. Let's get an update on your weather now with Jonathan.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vaughtry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. Then the rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it will be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
And of course, a week today, it's Christmas Day, and there is talk that we could have a snowflake falling somewhere, which would make it a white Christmas. Keep your eye on the forecast. Now, how would you like to win £10,000 cash in time for Christmas? Brand new tech as well, plus shopping vouchers. You could be the winner of our very first Great British giveaway. Here's all the details of how you could make those prizes yours.
This is your chance to win 3 amazing prizes that will get your new year off to a great start. First, there's a terrific £10,000 in cash to be won. Imagine what you can do with that. We'll also give you a tech update with the very latest iPhone 15 Pro Max. Plus £500 worth of shopping vouchers to spend in your favourite store. The retail therapy could be on us. For another chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
To have a go and good luck to you. Next, we're going to be looking at low traffic neighbourhoods. Do you live in one of those? And whether councils are using them just to make a few quid.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this? It's my new teeth. It's your new teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamonn.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. The Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So we're now going to talk about low traffic neighbourhoods.
I don't live in one. Do you live in one?
No.
What I didn't know is that they're also called mini Hollands, and they are on the increase. Do you live in a low traffic neighbourhood? Well, the idea is to reduce traffic in residential areas by restricting access to cars registered to people who live in the neighbourhood.
So, if you were a visitor, you couldn't go. I couldn't go and see you if you were in a low traffic neighbourhood.
Well, you'd have to do a big detour around the LTN.
OK. Motorist campaigners are warning that you'll get a fine of up to 130 quid if you drive into one by mistake. So today we were asking, what's the point of them? Are they just money makers or a genuine way of protecting the environment and increasing your safety?
Anti-ULEZ campaigner Michelle Chisholm says LTNs are nothing more than a way for councils to make a quick buck, while political consultant Emma Burnell disagrees and says LTNs are making the environment nicer for all of us.
Well, Michelle, first of all, how and why do you think these are money-making devices?
Well, interestingly enough, you just said that the lady, sorry, I forgot your name, the lady that I'm talking to today says they're making the schemes fairer for all of us. So what I'd like to understand is, who are they actually making it fairer for, and why do you say all of us?
Yeah, we're just dodging the bullets that are going around your sound transmission.
There's a little bit of interference.
Is there anything Michelle can do with her sound there, gallery? Right. We just want to know if you unplug and. No. Apparently it's been resolved. Apparently they're just going to test you there on it being resolved. So you also object, of course, Michelle, to the ULEZ campaign as well. But Emma, you live in one of these. What are they called?
Low traffic neighbourhoods.
Low traffic
LTNs.
neighbourhoods, LTNs, and you quite like it now.
Yeah, so my street, we had a thing from the council saying we're going to close the end of your street. And I think they were expecting us all to massively object and get really cross. And actually what we did was get massively excited and said, well, instead of some bollards, could we have a garden? And the council was so happy that we weren't objecting to the LTN that we now have a really, really nice community garden at the end of our road.
Well, who sustains the garden? Who looks after the garden then?
We do, as the road. Our deal with the council was they would build it, we would look after it.
Okay.
So we have it's really improved how much we talk to each other on the street. It's changed enormously. I mean, okay, now we have a street WhatsApp group. Occasionally that goes slightly mental, but most of the time it's who's going to water the garden over the dry summer and how are we going to make sure that we've got...
Emma, let me ask you though. Now, say I want to come and visit you. Say I want to pop down tonight and see you about something. How does it affect me?
Well, if you come after 6:30, Eamonn, you can park wherever you want to. If you come before 6:30, Eamonn, I give you a little ticket that I get enormous amounts of for about 35 quid. It really isn't that hard.
What's your response to that then, Michelle? I mean, it sounds like it's been a triumph in Emma's neighbourhood. It's attractive and it's safer. What's the problem?
Okay. The problem here is it's lovely for Emma, but what about the houses and the roads on the boundaries? You are basically pushing traffic onto other places. And it's all very well saying, oh, it's lovely for me, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. But I watch lots and lots of videos and see lots of real life situations of people that live on the boundaries. And roads that were once relatively quiet are now exceptionally busy with ridiculous amounts of traffic. Because at the end of the day, if you're pushing everybody elsewhere, I basically feel that you're being exceptionally selfish because you are not taking into account other people. It's like, it doesn't affect me. Recently, there was an anti-ULEZ protest in Tooting. And the lady contacted me. She was complaining bitterly about all the vehicles that had appeared for the anti-ULEZ protest. But her exact response were, why don't you do it somewhere else? So basically what we're saying is it's all okay, but as long as it's not on my street.
Emma, you are shaking your head. Does Michelle have a point there?
No, I have literally no idea what Michelle means by the boundaries. I live in Zone 3 of London. My parents live outside of the A406 in Chingford. All of us are in favour of traffic management because we all live with the vital importance of making sure that our children can breathe. That we have a nice city that can continue to be a nice city.
But
I just don't understand.
Emma, I think that was Michelle's point, is that it might be all right now in your neighbourhood, but because traffic can't drive down in your neighbourhood, the problem is being pushed elsewhere. So it is a bigger problem for other people than it was.
What I'm saying, Chingford is not exactly central London.
Right.
Yeah, the people...
Now, let's stop you there. So we have the same argument, because we have the same argument when we talk about ULEZ. Okay? The outer London, Chingford, is not the same as central London. And this is what people keep forgetting. London is divided into 3 areas. And I keep hearing campaigners saying how important ULEZ is for saving our children's lungs, for making life better for everybody. And they use the same argument as you. Well, Chingford is not like central London. Now, what's happening here?
Unlike you, I have people I love who live there. And I want their lungs as protected as my lungs, frankly.
Right. But let's look at now the lady who lost her child, the one child that died from air pollution, which I must add wasn't confirmed as car emissions. She lives on a boundary road. Rosamond, she campaigned and campaigned and campaigned for clean air. She was pro-ULEZ. She is anti-LTNs. Why? Because the asthma rates in her area are going through the roof. Because what has happened, the roads are being shut, all the traffic is backing up for miles and miles and miles. Where she lives, the BAME community are suffering from heavy asthma and increased medical problems due to increased traffic. The buses are going on strike. People are actually standing at the ends of the streets warning people they're going to get fines of £130 for entering a road, but you're okay.
Okay.
And this is why I say
let Emma just come back. Let Emma just respond to that very quickly.
Literally no one is standing at the end of my road saying you're going to be fined for anything. I am not in the posh bit of London. I'm so sorry to break your stereotype, but I live in Leighton, mate. We are in a very BAME-heavy community, and we are also in a place which has really benefited from the fact that they've closed one end of our road. We have less antisocial behaviour, we have less drug dealing, we have less prostitution. That is what the LTN has brought us. I'm sorry.
It's going on in the road next to yours.
I'm so sorry if that breaks your fantasy of the posh middle-class woman who's supposed to think that this is just benefiting me, but actually it benefits us in the lower end of London.
OK, well, another thing we don't have is time. We're out of that. Guys, really appreciate that, Michelle and Emma. It'll certainly have got people talking about LTNs. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
Right, so your views, GB News at whatever it is, GB Views.
GBViews at GBnews.com.
There it is, GBViews at GBnews.com if you've got something to say about all of that. But it just gets harder and harder to be a motorist, it has to be said, especially in London.
But not everyone's a motorist. So those who like walking love it. Right, should we do my introduction to Paul? You love it when my voice goes up.
If you asked.
Paul Coit is here with us.
You know, it was almost like a jingle, that was. I'll record that. Manchester United and Liverpool then yesterday. Bit dull, but good result for United. You've got to be happy with that.
It's funny the way people see games and whatever. You know, all I'm saying is it wasn't a bit dull at all because I just saw pressure for 90 minutes. You know, it was just constant barrage and then we had a few breakaway chances ourselves.
Yeah.
But But I know everybody. I was listening to the radio today and they were talking about bit dull. But when you're
in it,
you don't see it as dull.
See, the thing is with big games like that, you can't. And if you're a fan of one of the sides, you can't enjoy it.
No.
Because you're like this the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, Raphael Varane and Johnny Evans, who were playing at the back for Manchester United, I thought did. I mean, they're older than we are.
Absolutely.
I mean, I thought they did really well, and the defence was terrific, and they did go out there to get a point. And Jurgen Klopp, I know, is not very happy about that. It's all very well to say that, but that's football, you know. It's a great result to go away to Anfield for any side. They won 11 on the trot for crying out loud.
Something though.
I know, but Liverpool won 11 on the trot at home, and yes, maybe they did deserve to win, but they didn't because Manchester United defended well. So a good result for them. There was the curious case of Diogo Dalot. I think could be something.
The sending off.
The curious case of Diogo Dalot, the sending off for, and he was having a go at the referee. It was for dissent. Now, referees have been told, let's cut down on this dissent. You're going to give yellow cards.
Show respect to the referee.
Absolutely. We talk about rugby. They're great with that, and they call the referee sir. In football, everybody's surrounding the referee. So anyway, the ball went out, and it should have been a Manchester United throw-in. So he has a go at the referee. Yellow card. He continues to go. There's another yellow card, and he gets sent off. So I just wondered whether he could have made the most of it and done it in one sentence, because then he would have probably just got one yellow card. But because he took a gap and then went again, another yellow card. So will you knock it off and then sent him off? Anyway, you can't be doing it.
Well, you knock it off now, and let's get on to Villa. We're all thinking Villa are on a very good run.
Yes.
Things going well. Yeah, it was Brentford yesterday.
Absolutely. And Pip, do you just latch on to any team from the Midlands? The best one that's going at the moment. Is that how it works?
You're suggesting that I'm fickle.
I would never suggest. Yes, I am. Yeah, so
I like to see the Midlands teams do well.
Well, Villa are doing very well. Villa are doing great. And they were 1-0 down against Brentford. Last-minute goal. And this is Ollie Watkins. Now, this was an interesting one as well, because Ollie Watkins scores the winner, 85th minute, used to play at Brentford. Where are you with celebrating when you played for the other side?
We have a clip of this.
Do we have something? I think we have. You'd think at the Brentford fans, oh dear, not very happy. But the reason for this is that there was a Brentford fan that was behind the goal that had been berating Ollie Watkins throughout the whole game. And he was on his case, and he kept on and he kept on. And Ollie came back afterwards and said, look, you know, I'd love the time at Brentford. It mean a lot to me, but it was that one fan. So he stands behind the goal and he's giving him all the big one. And so obviously the fans didn't like it. But that's the thing. So many players won't celebrate when they play against a team they used to.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with anybody celebrating. I really don't.
Well, I think the player themselves may have a problem.
What do you mean?
Well, because if you've worn that shirt and if it's meant a lot to you, and maybe you weren't responsible for the transfer, maybe they just transferred you out. There could be lots of reasons why, you know, you
Dennis Law, I suppose.
Friends there.
Yeah, Dennis Law back in the 70s, the back heel, and playing for Man City against Manchester United. I mean, if you've been a stalwart, you've been a great player for that club all your career, and then you maybe score. But generally, I don't have a problem with it. You've got to celebrate.
All right, here's an ex-player of yours. How do you feel? Harry Kane scored 2 yesterday to become the quickest player to ever reach 20 Bundesliga goals.
He's unbelievable. It broke another record in Germany. It was Hamburg 1963, Uwe Seeler, who played.
Uwe Seeler.
Yeah, Uwe Seeler played in the '66 World Cup final against England, so he was the one that had the record before, had 19, and so Harry Kane has done that, and he's just tearing it up in Germany. And
feels like he only joined the club yesterday.
For me, it feels like it was a long time ago. But we miss Harry. But what a great player, and it just proves to everybody, Harry Kane did take a lot of stick from other clubs, always maybe because he wasn't playing for them, but over in Germany, he's just proving how brilliant he actually is.
Yeah.
OK, and Arsenal are top of the league. We didn't mention.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
Anyway.
Can't have everything.
Thank you very much indeed, my friend.
Thank you. Have a great day.
So it was a 2-0 win for Arsenal yesterday. For Brad Pitt, it was 6-0. 60. Brad Pitt is 60 years of age.
I've seen him in the flesh.
Have you?
Yes.
And does he match up?
We were literally that close, and then he turned on his heel and walked away.
Oh.
Was it something you said?
Not very impressed. But I will say, he looks great. He really does. We're going to be talking about that on Headline Makers next.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
Ah!
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining us to go through the headlines, the stories that make the headlines today, Alex Armstrong and Stephanie Tetchy are both here. So we're going to talk about council tax rises first of all. Alex, where's the biggest one?
So it's Birmingham. It's
there's a shock with what they're going through at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the 7th council in 3 years that's really stacking up, with likely more to come. The government are announcing, Michael Gove's announcing some emergency funding because it's going to become an endemic problem in the UK. But, you know, Birmingham Council really does stand out because they've actually spent quite a lot of money on some ridiculous things. They actually built this athlete village for 560 million for the Commonwealth Games that nobody ever actually went. No athletes ever stayed in. They've also been criticised for having 21 officials earning over 100k or more. So your taxpayer money, your council tax is going to fund these very, very wealthy council bureaucrats. And they also came up in the news quite a lot this year for having spent a lot of money on renaming roads such as Equality Road, Diversity Grove. So they are coming under far more scrutiny than other councils because they have been spending a lot.
Well, they've had to make these payouts, haven't they?
They have.
To do with the equality battle, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
At the tune of 1.1 billion. So you can see why they're in a little bit of trouble financially. Just to give the viewers some understanding here, a Band D council tax in Birmingham is £1,905.
What?
That's incredibly high, and that's going to go up 10%. So I think there should be some scrutiny on the way they're spending this money. They are blasting money. They are way overspending on bureaucracy and else.
And you know, Alex, I think some sort of respect for the people who are paying the bills. We're saying this year alone, 200 quid extra. And, you know, where does that magically come from, that extra money, on top of everything else? And we all know, you know, no matter what you go to buy now, no matter what service it is, it's more than it used to be. And I think a novel idea would be to sort of turn around and say, we're actually not providing this anymore, or not doing that. Not just cut things down, but just stop certain things totally and say, this is what you get for your money. This is our way of showing you're getting value for your money.
Absolutely. I don't think council taxpayers care what you call a road, but it's how you're spending their money they care about. They just want their services to work, frankly. Just to have their bins taken on time would be a privilege in this day and age. So I couldn't agree more.
When you look at the day, Stephanie, that it was basically you emptied the bins and you buried the dead and you did various things, and then the responsibilities grow and grow and grow. But maybe it's time to go back to basics.
I do sometimes feel like it is time to go back to basics, but I never understand when the government just feels like to keep on increasing and squeezing people for more and more money, which we don't have. And I just think, don't you have sense and don't you have a heart? Like, or by squeezing, making people get into more debt is going to get people into more problems, and we'll then end up going to go back to the government asking for more help, which clearly they can't provide because they're too busy spending on trying to get the name of a road done. It just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Right. Returning this young lad, tell us about this young lad who was in France, Alex Batty.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions that have clearly been raised of how he's been living his life since he disappeared from the UK in 2017 when he went on holiday with his grandfather and his mother to Spain. But a French family have come out now and said that he visited them over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's returned back to the UK is because he wanted to obtain identity papers, because he wanted to study, because all he's been doing during that time is he's been working as a handyman in exchange for donations for food and accommodation. So while it seems like he hasn't got no animosity towards his mother and grandfather, he clearly has been living this alternative lifestyle. And now he wants a bit of normality.
Do we know where his mother and grandfather are? And are they going to face any repercussions?
At the moment, they're still in France at this commune. He's refusing to kind of give details about them or for them to, you know, face any prosecution. But I guess when he gets back to normality, he'll probably understand that he's been living life a bit, you know, strangely over the past few years. But it's quite sad because I think when he left, he was only 11, and now to be coming back at 17.
So you guys think he should be facing the prosecution, or the family should be facing prosecution because he didn't attend, say, school, for instance?
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have been there. He was in custody. His grandmother had custody of him.
She was
So he was effectively kidnapped.
It's hard with these situations because you think parents should have control over how they want their children to live, but there should be things like your child should be attending school and having some sense of normality, not just living this crazy dream of an alternative
let's
lifestyle.
talk about common sense, Alex, and the new Minister for Common Sense, friend of this very station, Esther McVey.
Yes, I know that her title gets a little bit of jabbing from the press here and there because, I mean, what a name, Minister for Common Sense. However, you know, she has brought out some interesting points. When you dig into the detail and you get over the Minister for Common Sense title, she's looking at doing some very good things, in my opinion. She says she wants to have a bonfire of quangos, which I couldn't agree more about. There's far too many nonsense organisations in the government and elsewhere. So an example of this is 11 council members, civil servants, beg your pardon, are being paid up to £450,000 to pay for their bills working from home. So this is an absolute bonkers thing. If I work from home, I pay my bills. I think most of us, if ever work from home, would be doing the same. And again, I don't think the taxpayer would appreciate that. So, you know, whilst I think there's a bit of jeering on her title, I think there is some good things that could come out of this that would make your taxpayer money go a bit further, considering it is the highest tax burden since World War II. So there could be some good things that come out of there, particularly as everyone else is being asked to tighten their belts as well.
OK, and Alex as well, Rome's peace lights.
Yes.
Drone footage. Oh, this sounds like some lovely picture.
Yeah, hopefully.
Drone footage capturing Rome's peace-themed Christmas lights.
Yep,
Can we have a look at that?
See them now, yeah. So
tell us about these.
Yeah, so they've gone for a peace theme this year, which I think is quite important given what's going on in the world. So they've lit up the streets of Rome with these beautiful lights, kind of similar to what we do in Oxford Circus, although it looks a lot less busy, if I might add. But again, I think everyone can agree it's a lovely display and a beautiful message for what's going on in the world right now.
Gorgeous.
Oh, that's what the thing I do like about Christmas lights. They do allow you to just pause and just take it in and just, you know, just take in all the beauty of Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I think London's lights eclipse that at the moment.
I think London's
They're
lights
pretty
are always
impressive.
Beautiful, yeah. And you know, some people will not be happy with what they'll see as a political message being embedded in that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with peace at Christmas time. I think it is the spirit of it. But again, beautiful display right outside the Vatican.
Yeah, that's all very well and good, Alex. It's a beautiful display, but it's taking them all down again. I'm just sitting looking thinking, oh my word.
Yeah.
Taking
hopefully their tax bill isn't as high as ours, otherwise I might have an issue with it, yeah.
Stephanie, carol singing is good for your health. Now, I never really believed Christmas has started unless I've been to a carol service, and I went to one last week, and I was very glad I did go. So what have you got to say about this?
Well, experts at Oxford University are saying carol singing is good for your health because it gives us a hormonal lift and it's great for your well-being, lower rates of depression, and there's that sense of community, which I think people just love at Christmas. And you get that the most at a carol service. I think it's just that feeling of everyone coming together and singing Christmas hymns. And we don't really get that through the year. Christmas is the only time when people really come together and they really want to get in the festive spirit. So carol singing is good for you. And it's in particular, it's good for people with dementia because it helps jog their memory and it helps people with Parkinson's disease as well because it helps them with their movements. I'm all for carol singing. I think it should be scheduled almost in every school.
I was watching yesterday morning on television, I was watching carol singing from Vienna somewhere.
Oh, beautiful. Vienna.
It was just one of those things, it was on Channel 4. No, it was Sky Arts. And I just sat and watched it, and then I flicked channels on, and Channel 4 was The Tiger Who Came to Tea, right? And to this point, my wife made an appearance and said, very strange viewing you have. so I'm not, you know, so the viewing police.
One of the most glorious things, I think, is the carols from King's College, Cambridge at Christmas, on Christmas Eve. Yeah. And it's on it's live on the radio. It is stunning. I can never get a ticket. I know people who've gone and say it's out of this world.
They are really beautiful, those. I think that it's such a lovely tradition at Christmas that we seem to have lost quite a lot of. I know people used to go door to door when I was a kid, I remember it, but we don't seem to do that anymore, which is a real shame.
I used to love the school carol service when I was little.
It just makes it. I think it's just so nice, and I hope traditions like this don't get, turned away and then people forget them. I think it's good that it's a part of the calendar.
And we must say happy birthday to Brad Pitt.
Oh, Mr. Brad Pitt is turning 60. And in the Daily Mail today, they've done a piece that he is the real-life Benjamin Button, because he's aged quite well. I've interviewed Brad before, and I have to say he is one of the nicest men in Hollywood because he hasn't got an ego. He's very down to earth. I actually interviewed him when he was about to do a premiere with Angelina, and at the time, he was just really about her and letting her shine. But I think it's nice. I think in Hollywood, if you stay away from all the plastic surgery, you can end up looking good as Brad Pitt. He's Benjamin Button.
And do you think his face is, not that I really care, but do you think his face is wholly natural?
I think it's natural. He hasn't got that Hollywood look where they can't move their face. He's still got wrinkles on there. And I think, with men, they don't get judged as much when it comes to ageing and stuff, so they don't feel the pressure to go under the knife. Like other female celebrities.
My dad will be watching. He's 59 today, so I'm sure he'll see those images of Brad Pitt, and I don't know whether he'll agree.
Just go home and say to him today, "Hi, Brad." Dad. No, listen. So, Alex, your dog. We were talking about festive dogs, festive pets, and people dressing them up for Christmas. Let's have a look at your dog. Oh, beautiful! Now we're looking at some sort of sausage dog.
That's right. He is. He's 5 years old. He's tiny. Everyone thinks he's a puppy still because he's so small. But every year he gets a little Christmas outfit. He wears it for about 10 minutes and then goes nuts for us to take it off.
Does he shake that hat off?
Yeah. So that is a very uncandid moment there. That's literally after a few minutes of trying to get it on. But they hate wearing it. Dogs hate wearing these costumes.
What's he like in the rain? Is he different if you bring him outside?
He hates the outdoors. Yeah.
He loves lying by the fire. All cosy. Well, and I think we've got your dog.
No. I just want to show Alex's dog again there, please, if it's there. And the reason I want to do this is my dog, which I'm now going to show you, is a rescue dog, and I had a DNA test done on the dog, and the DNA test came out, and we just look at my dog now, and it came out as basically a border collie, which you can see in her face there, but the cape, the regal Christmas cape covers up the fact that the rest of her, some 35% or so, was sausage dog, dachshund.
There you go, they could be related.
Yeah.
Well, so my little dog, Robin, is also a mixed breed, and he is part Cocker Spaniel.
Oh,
yes, I can see the ears. I can see that. And he looks very, very lovely.
How
very
old
lovely.
is Robin?
He's 5, and he's a little horror.
In dog years, that's about the same as Brad Pitt.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vaughtry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. The rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it will be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamonn.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamonn and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Carson, this Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
9 o'clock is the time. A very good morning to you. It is a Monday morning. It's the start of a new day, a new week. It is the 18th of December.
This is Breakfast with Eamonn Holmes and me, Pip Thompson, and this is what we've been covering on Breakfast this morning.
The Home Office is once again defending its Rwanda scheme after a series of airlines have refused to provide planes because they think it may bring reputational damage. Chris Hope, the latest on this and other things from Westminster. Chris, good morning.
If commercial aircraft won't take migrants to Rwanda, how will they get there? More next.
Maybe Ryanair, that's what I'm thinking. Anyway.
The government announces new plans to improve energy efficiency for 1 million households, including a new boiler upgrade scheme worth £1.5 billion.
And as the Christmas holidays begin, concerns are growing about the amount that we may be drinking over the festive period. We've been hearing from those whose lives have been ruined by alcohol and the charities there trying to help them, particularly.
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
Low traffic neighbourhoods, are you in one? Are they saving the planet or are they just another money-making scheme? We've been talking about just that this morning. Keep your views coming in.
And Jonathan Vautry, he's across the weather.
An unsettled week of weather on the way for us, and it will also be turning that bit cooler. Join me later for the full forecast to find out the details.
You can join in any of our discussions by emailing gbviews@gbnews.com or tweet, well, X as it now is, @GBNews. We've had plenty of thoughts coming in, haven't we, Eamonn?
Yeah, we're talking about, there's the front page, front of the Mirror today about shooting deer, a deer cull. Elaine says you may not realise that the native Sami people of Norway eat reindeer. They actually do this, though, just the same way as we eat cows or lambs. Dave says, I believe there is an environmental reason behind deer culls, so people not as maybe outraged as we are, as you and I are.
I think it's the celebration that gets me.
It's the idea that people doing it, for sport. The idea that, this is you could play golf, but no, let's shoot a deer. Let's shoot a wild animal instead.
That's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
We also had quite a lot of reaction to a debate about whether Piers Morgan should apologise.
Most of you think no.
Yeah.
No,
interesting.
And I think there are two hopes of Piers apologising to Prince Harry over phone tapping, and that would be No Hope and Bob Hope. So I do think, we were with him on Friday night and he didn't seem overly perturbed about it.
Not
anyway.
cowed at all. No.
Top story this morning. There are now reports suggesting airlines are refusing to provide planes to send asylum seekers to Rwanda.
The Home Office says it has robust plans for flights, but reports suggest airlines are reluctant to associate themselves with the scheme.
A coalition of pro-refugee campaigners later today will hold a large-scale protest outside the Home Office. Let's go to our political editor, Chris Hope, who's across all of these things and much, much more. What are you hearing, Chris?
Yeah, more worries here for the Rwanda plan. That, of course, we know this is a plan to remove illegally arrived asylum seekers, migrants across small boats back to Rwanda, 5,000 miles away, to stay there, deport them there and be processed there. But now we learn that commercial airlines, no one has yet signed up to take them out there. These airlines are worried about reputational damage if they did so because of the nature of the controversial policy that the PM is pushing forward. Some would say this is how you deal with the small boats crisis. You try and break this business model of these gangs who smuggle people here. Others will say the risk to a big carrier taking anyone out there could see people cancelling their air tickets. Now, the Home Office, for its part, says very clearly we have robust plans in place to fly people to Rwanda, including established commercial relationships. They also have, of course, their own planes. So I think this is a kind of concern, but it won't kill off the policy altogether, Eamonn and Pip.
There's also been a bit of discussion, hasn't there, Chris, about the Prime Minister's language when he was in Italy at the weekend. He was with a group of right-wing politicians and issuing what he says is a warning about the threat posed by illegal migration, saying it could overwhelm European states.
Yeah, what he means is, I think he was alluding to the fact that you don't know who's coming here. If they're not going through normal checks, who's arriving by a small boat is the concern he's got. He's out there in Italy speaking at a right-wing conference, really, with the president of Albania and Giorgia Meloni, of course, the Italian Prime Minister. And there is common cause, I think, in parts of Europe about the issue of small boats arrivals, particularly in Italy, with its large coastline in the Mediterranean. So I think that they saw that's why he was talking to them. There's some rows about whether it was a far-right or a right-wing group. There's some reporting in the UK which has annoyed some people, saying it wasn't far-right, it was right-wing, and what's wrong with that. But I think, there's no question that if you can't check people as they come across, that will be a worry. Who's arriving and are they being watched and monitored when they get here? That's the problem for the government, Pip.
OK, Christopher Hope at Westminster, thanks very much. Well, joining us now is immigration barrister Lorraine Mensa. A very good morning to you. What do you think are the chances of planes taking off in Rwanda in the new year, or at least before the general election?
Well, I think the government has a timeline tightrope here because there are a number of factors at play, not simply the difficulties that you've heard today regarding airlines. Not only do we have the UK election, but we also have elections in Rwanda next year in the summer. So there are going to be lots of hurdles the government are going to have to get over. And I can see us all in the summer watching the Rwandan elections intensely to see how things play out there, because, of course, we are now embedded in this structure with Rwanda through the new bill.
Lorraine being an issue if you're sending 2 people, to Rwanda, if you're sending 40 people or 50 people or 200 people, which obviously they don't see themselves doing, then it is an issue. What I'm trying to say is there are lots of planes available to rent or hire from in a private capacity. So I can't really see this being... I can understand scheduled airlines saying, no, we don't want to be associated with this. If they've got another 200 people on board who are holiday makers or business people or whatever. But a privately chartered plane, I can't see that as an issue, which just brings me back to the whole point that they don't think they can fill a privately chartered plane, I would say.
Well, the numbers aren't clear. We're not being told at this stage how many individuals are going to be suitable. Remember, there's going to have to be medical assessments. There's a history here of difficulties in trying to remove people by airline because sometimes people will be resistant to being removed. They may have to be restrained. There may be medical problems in the background. All of these are difficulties that make airline flight more problematic.
And there is a suggestion that the Ministry of Defence and the RAF might step in.
Well, I mean, it may become necessary if airlines are worried about reputational damage being associated with this kind of action. It may be necessary to, I don't know whether the suggestion is we're going to use military planes, like those planes we saw take people out of Afghanistan. I haven't heard that yet.
OK, Lorraine, thanks very much for bringing us up to date. Lorraine Mensah is an immigration lawyer. Thank you. Britain's Newsroom follows at 9:30 today. Andrew Pearson, Ellie Costello this morning. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning. Yes, we're very excited.
What are you going to concentrate on today?
Well, we're going to start on Baroness Moan, who moans too much, doesn't she? Let's be honest. I did nothing wrong. I only lied to the press. That doesn't matter if you lie to the press. When you're lying to the press, you're lying to everybody. She's up to her neck in the fact that her and her husband made £60 million profit. She kept lying about the financial interest. She didn't declare it in the House of Lords. What a mess. One of the worst interviews, I would say, I've seen in a long time. A lot of people comparing it to the Prince Andrew interview.
What, you mean one of the worst, a good interview in terms of what she was asked?
Yeah, but in terms of defending yourself and clearing improving your reputation, it had echoes of Prince Andrew. It was a disaster for her and her husband, I thought.
Yeah, lots of people asking who's advising her at this stage. We're also going to be talking about this really shocking story on the front of the Times today. 3,000 hospital admissions a day linked to obesity. I mean, it's really shocking stuff, isn't it? So we're going to be asking, are we getting too fat as a nation?
I think we already are too fat.
Really?
Yeah, and I think obesity now causes more deaths and problems for the NHS than smoking.
It does. I think it's 3 times more problems for the NHS than smoking does now.
Amazing.
So it's overtaken, so it's a real
and at
issue.
This time of year, people are going to be going
eating
for it,
too
aren't
much, drinking too much.
Yeah, that's another story we're doing, aren't we?
So
very
much
good.
did you
think at Christmas?
But is this not just another thing to beat ourselves up about and feel miserable and whatever it is? I say I'm not a drinker. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. But I'm not aware of stepping over bodies, to get to my car or whatever. And people want to unwind. They're under a lot of pressure. People need to just sort of chill a bit. So here's another thing. Oh, you're going to kill yourself.
Got drinking too much.
Yeah, it's just, I think I definitely drink a lot more at this time of year than I would other times of the year. I don't see it as a problem. I think it's a nice thing to do in the month of December, but where's the line?
No, but I agree with you. And if you've been out at a few parties and whatever, and I did a few at the weekend, you don't look any worse for wear, could I say, Miss Ellie?
Thank you very much.
You look very, very good on it.
The makeup's helped.
But you as a...
Andrew, you don't.
But when you go to Christmas parties and you don't drink, do you get fed up with the people who get a bit drunk?
No, I get fed... I was with Pip, actually, and I was sitting beside her, and what I was getting fed up with, I'm fine. I used to be a barman. I can handle drunks and people, it's all fine. but it's the noise factor.
The loud music.
Not being able to hear. So she was beside me, and I really just had to take her aside and say, I'm really sorry, because I just had to keep going. She was going to me.
Yeah,
and I'm looking at her lips like some sort of pervert.
And I thought this bodes well for presenting breakfast with on Monday.
And I said, what? Sorry? What? Yes? What? And it really wasn't enjoyable from that point of view.
You've got to learn lip reading. Sign language.
Honestly, Ellie, this will come to you one day. Pip, it'll come to you one day. And you'll suddenly realise you think you're OK, and then you say, what is everyone saying? It's very, very difficult. Very difficult.
You just have to nod your head a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you just got to get drunk, and then it won't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
So if you don't drink, folk, you're not allowed to smoke, you're not allowed to vape, you're not allowed to drink.
And not allowed to eat too much.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer, isn't it? But little cheeky Baileys, I think, is always
But you see, the other thing, Pip, is you've got to realise there's a lot of people who are very boring. I mean, really very boring. You've got to look and you think...
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
Mate. No, I wouldn't mind
You're the
being
furthest thing from
stuck in a corner with you. You'd laugh, you'd be very informative, everything would be good. But you know what I'm saying. You get stuck with somebody and you're thinking, please, 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 somebody rescue me here, get me out of this. Because boring people don't know they're boring.
No, that's
They have no idea they're boring.
That's why they're
And
boring.
that's when you need a
And
drink.
they talk at you, not with you.
But there'll be none of that today, will there?
Nothing boring on Britain's newsroom. Nothing at all.
OK, be good. Have a good show, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Actually, I feel now we're in this rundown to the big day next week, so we have to be sort of very Christmassy, which is good about bringing the pets in. The pets.
Are you suggesting we should be in Santa hats tomorrow?
No, definitely not. I'm definitely not. But I'm just saying it's good we're getting into a momentum now of being festive. And it gets better because we could give you 10,000 quid cash. We could give you a new phone. We could give you shopping vouchers. We could do all these things if you do your bit and enter the Great British Giveaway. Have a go.
You really could be the winner of the very first Great British Giveaway and receive nearly £12,000 worth of prizes from us. First, we've got a simply stunning £10,000 in tax-free cash to give you. Cash that you can spend on anything you like. Next, how about a new phone? You'll also get a brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max. And if all of that wasn't enough, how about a further £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at the store of your choice? For another chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday, the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
Good. That may solve a lot of problems. Not in time for Christmas, but after Christmas anyway.
Good luck. We have been talking about people's boozy Christmases and how it's not always as merry as it seems, especially for those who struggle with drinking too much. More about that very shortly.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with you three.
Oh! No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
We were just talking there about being up to date on a Christmas schedule, and you know, if you haven't got presents wrapped by now, that's one of the things that you're in real trouble, aren't you?
You're feeling the pressure, aren't you, today?
Well, I have to have them bought and I have to have them wrapped, and then my family, a lot of my family are in Ireland, and I'm not going to Ireland this year, and so that you've got to organise sending stuff as well. So it all becomes more and more complicated. And my wife, she's like a machine. She's like it's like a business, an industry with her. She props up an ironing board, and then that's.
What do you mean?
Well, that's what she wraps on.
Oh, she wraps
So it's
on
the
the
right
ironing
height
board.
for it. Believe me, it's like a science with her. It's the right height. It doesn't put strain on her back. She has it, so there's a whole sort of, you know, whole conveyor belt of wrapping.
Are you a neat wrapper?
I'm terrible. I could just throw things in and say, You wouldn't wrap that for me, would you? Any chance? And the answers I get, I can't even repeat.
And is Ruth very precise with her wrapping, and everything's very measured?
She's just not very generous about doing it. But she's very nice. Yeah, she's like a machine. The other thing which we should talk about is parties and socialising. And it's lovely to get out to a party. We were saying before the break, the thing we're talking about now is drink. And the charity Drink Aware says more than half of you think that you have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Now, I can believe that, but whether you actually do have an unhealthy relationship is another thing, because we're made to believe that we have an unhealthy relationship. 1 in 10 of you think that you actually have a problem.
And one of the things that does happen at Christmas is a lot of people think, right, I'm going to go hell for leather over Christmas and then cold turkey in January.
Be miserable
which isn't, but
in
that's
January.
not necessarily a healthy thing to do, is it, to your body?
No. And I think people feeling bad about themselves at the worst time of the year in January, whatever. But, however, it's complicated, it's complex, and it's not to be mocked, because a lot of people are badly affected about it. Our reporter Will Hollis investigated.
Alcohol took everything from Lee. His job, his family, and eventually his home.
So we're outside Tesco, and this is the spot I used to sit and beg.
He spent 9 months living on the streets of Nottingham. In the day, he'd drink 9 cans of strong lager.
I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be here. I felt the lowest of the low. I felt like, why don't my life just end? Why don't it just stop? Why don't the pain just stop?
More than 500,000 Brits are addicted to alcohol, but millions more drink in a harmful way. At Christmas, booze is everywhere.
The average Brit drinks about 18 units of alcohol in a week, but at Christmas time, that jumps massively to at least 14 units on Christmas Day alone.
A unit of alcohol can be half a pint of beer, a small glass of wine, or a single measure of spirit. DrinkAware found that half of Brits think the UK has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and that 2/3 overindulge at Christmas.
I tend to drink maybe a little bit more at Christmas.
I think most people basically drink to excess.
I tend to have a little bit of a Baileys at Christmas. I think it's quite of a festive thing.
The Nottingham Recovery Network helps anyone struggling with drink or drugs. The charity framework runs the service with council funding.
How is the new programme going?
Apollos is the Director for Health and Social Care.
Alcohol problems and drug problems don't happen on their own. They're usually a symptom of other things going on. So that might be debt, mental health, relationship, housing. We've brought services together to be able to meet the whole of that need.
He says there's a spike in people with drinking problems around Christmas.
People struggle with their drinking, they struggle with their relationships, they struggle with their mental health far more than they would at any other time of the year.
We get to live again.
Asking for help is how many people start to fix a drinking problem. When Lee asked, the network got him off the streets and into recovery. He's been sober for 3 years now and supports others recovering too.
I'm no longer just existing, I'm actually living life.
Alcohol is a part of Christmas, and that won't change. It becomes a problem when it takes over the celebration. Will Hollis, GB News in Nottingham.
Look, just want to say to you, if you're watching that and you're affected by it, or you have someone around you who's struggling with alcohol, support is there. Alcoholic Anonymous website, and the website address is www.alcoholicsanonymous.org.uk.
Throughout this morning, on a brighter note, we've been asking all of you to send in your festive photos of furry friends that are ready for Christmas. And we've had them all. We've had dogs, cats, we've even had a tortoise wearing a Santa hat.
There you are. Sophie sent us this. That's her husband, Terry. Perranporth Beach in Cornwall. 3 rescued English bulldogs. Well done to you, my friend. Joe says, this is my Doberman Kobe, almost 2 years of age. Karen and Martin, that's what they have.
This is Alfie with Bruce, matching outfits. I'm not sure that they're both particularly happy about those outfits, but they look gorgeous.
And finally, we'll leave you with Jack there. He's a rescue dog. Anne in Southampton. Jack Russell there. OK, in his pyjamas. Thanks for watching today. We're going to be back doing it all again from 6 a.m. tomorrow. Remember, it's Andrew and Ellie up next. Have yourselves a good day.
Bye-bye.
Hello there, good morning to you. I'm Jonathan Vaughtry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. We do have a relatively unsettled week of weather ahead of us, and that is starting with these fronts that are sprawled across great swathes of the UK. So we do have some outbreaks of rain to contend with, particularly for western areas throughout today. The rain will be slightly lighter and patchier further towards the east, even some early brightness for southeast England, but the cloud will be thickening here into the afternoon. A blustery, breezy day for England and Wales, but the winds will be easing out for Northern Ireland and Scotland as we start to see some sunshine poking its way through later on, though a few heavy showers with some hail maybe in the far northwest later. Temperatures slightly above average for the time of year, generally ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. That clearer slot of weather will push its way into parts of northern England as we head into this evening, but we'll see the cloud build once again as this area of rain moves its way in from the southwest, covering in a lot of England and Wales overnight. Some clearer spells and some showers moving into Scotland and Northern Ireland, so it'll be a cooler night here, 3 to 6 degrees Celsius, but milder further towards the south and west. And it'll be a very wet start to Tuesday for England and Wales. Quite a tricky travelling conditions first thing, but the rain will eventually clear its way off into the day, and we'll see sunnier spells pushing in from the northwest. Still with a scattering of showers, those could be wintry over the higher ground of Scotland, and you'll see those fresher northwesterlies bringing in that cooler conditions for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, but still holding on to the mild conditions for the southwest. Further showers as we head throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa!
Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this? It's my new t-shirt. It's your new t-shirt.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show.